Hello.
Uh, Hello, everybody.
Welcome,
How are
welcome.
you guys doing?
It's Thursday. We're here and we're on time. Can you believe it?
We are, well, 4 minutes late, but we're kind of almost on time. We're getting
Well,
there.
we had a countdown. We are starting to get a little bit more official here, get people time to settle
Yep,
in, grab their Triscuits,
y- exactly,
Triscuits and
exactly. We're
tea.
doing this for you. We're late for you guys every
Yeah,
time.
it's your. We're creating parasocial relationships as we speak. It's all for you and you alone,
I
viewer at home.
I love you
I love
three
you.
times, as Dave might say, Dave Hollis.
I love you. Buy my merch. I love you guys.
I love you. I have a conference for $3,000.
That's
Will you
it?
come?
Wow, what a
Oh, I don't
steal.
know. Like it's gonna be 4,000 with hugs, and it
Oh,
doesn't
good.
matter if you have COVID or not. It's fine.
COVID's just negative thinking.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
exactly. You just channel that placebo effect. It will really cure anything, you know?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That's the secret, literally. Literally, not
So, how are you?
figuratively.
How's your week been?
Week's been good. I've been busy. I listened to, not that this is the subject, but I listened to Rachel Hollis's recent content and found it to be quite annoying. So that was the only thing
Yeah.
in the influencer space that I've kind of kept up with this week. You watched it too,
Yeah.
right?
Oh God, yeah, horrifying. But yeah, yeah, we should probably talk about that next
At
time.
some point, yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
can never get too far away from the Hollises because there's always drama
No.
to discuss. But other than that, I also watched Netflix this week, and you did as well.
Yes, me too. And Jen, I also finished the show last night.
Oh,
So
perfect.
yeah,
So you're like
let's get. Oh,
fresh.
so fresh. But also, guys, there's gonna be like severe spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show,
You
like
better
I don't know
keep
what to tell
watching
you.
on mute. I know. Don't go away. Just keep it on in the background so it feels
Of
like
course,
you're a part of
just
the group. But
we need the view.
yeah. Also, if anyone subscribes, there should be some sort of fun new tech that I'm testing out. So if anyone hasn't subscribed yet to this channel and you want to see some cool technology, do it. And then if it works, then you'll be surprised. If it doesn't work, then I don't know. Never mind.
Well,
But it should work, so somebody subscribe.
somebody subscribe and let us know if anything.
Yeah,
There goes nothing. Um,
we'll just wait. I'm just kidding.
yeah, somebody like if you're all subscribed, somebody unsubscribe and
Yeah,
subscribe.
unsubscribe
Let's
and
see if that works.
resubscribe.
Why are we telling people to unsubscribe? We're
I
just so
know.
dumb.
I know. It's because I only did the test. I haven't run this by through a real life scenario. I only did it through the testing system. So, anyways,
Oh, okay.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes as it
Yeah,
comes out.
fair enough.
So, what do you think overall?
Okay.
First thoughts, I
Anna
guess.
Delvey.
Yeah. What do you think of the Netflix show?
Okay. Fantastic. I loved it. It's like it's so good.
I agree. I think the acting it was really good. I love I don't know her name, which is bad, but she's in Ozarks also, the actress who plays Anna, and I love her. She's so not in a weird way, but I love her acting because I think she's really really good and really talented and kind of can take on any role really well and play the little intricacies well.
Yeah. Oh,
So I thought it was good. And I think the length was right because it was long, but it wasn't too long and it wasn't too short. You kind of got into the deeper aspects of it. So I did appreciate that.
yeah. Agreed. I think it's just so good. The fact that they got
Look, you see? Wait.
uh
Wee
Jessica
wee.
Pressler.
It
Oh,
worked. Thank you. See? Okay. Keep
it's
subscribing.
working. Thank you. No,
Oh! Okay,
nobody
now it's happening.
unsubscribe now.
Yeah,
Okay.
never unsubscribe. This is the moment. If you want to get your name on the screen, just to commemorate this moment, you can unsubscribe and then resubscribe. but only this one
Yeah.
time. Please. Okay, it worked.
Yeah, so that's really good. That's really good. And also, like the show.
Speaking of good, this show is good. Well, okay, I'll say my opinion on it is sometimes I can be turned off by acting. Like, I much prefer usually nonfiction everything. So, it's nonfiction, but it's, acted out by actors, and they add in little elements of, drama. So I could be turned off by that, but I think they handled it well. I don't think that they overdid too much, and I think I've watched documentaries about Anna Delvey before, and it, to me, seemed like it followed the timeline fairly well.
Yeah, obviously it's a made up show, but it is very seriously based on the real story. I appreciate it's a hard thing to do when you have to make a fictional kind of dramatic series or a movie based on real events because
Oh no, you froze.
is a movie about a Scottish king, and they tried as much as possible to stick to the real facts, and they could have done better if they didn't try so hard to stick to the reality, in terms of just kind of like narrative storytelling. So I think that part is hard, and I think that they've done a great job in inventing Anna, in just kind of like managing to they threaded lightly, and they did it well.
Yeah, I think so too. And obviously, we don't know what really happened, what the internal conversations were that they had, but none of it seemed far fetched because the true story itself almost seems far fetched. So they didn't really have to overindulge on that end because the story itself is crazy. So what we were thinking about doing today in this live stream is kind of talking about what the Netflix series got right and what they got wrong. So things that were changed from the interpretation, because Shonda Rhimes is the one who produced this. And if you remember, I'm sure you saw it, in the beginning of every episode, somewhere in the scene they would say, this is a totally true story, except for all the parts we made up. So some of it wasn't quite accurate, but a lot of it was. And I also think it'd be cool to read the article in which the reporter, who was like one of the main characters of the series, the article that she wrote. So Manhattan Magazine, which I thought was a real magazine, so I guess they
No.
convinced me, but I thought it was real because I guess it was supposed to be like the New Yorker. I don't know. But Manhattan Magazine's fake, and apparently she wrote the piece for The Cut. So we can read that article and see what she actually put in there, because I feel like they really built up the article a lot, but then you never get to hear it in the actual Netflix show.
It's the show.
Yeah,
I think maybe that's why they were like, we're not gonna double down here,
true. Yeah. I mean, I
unlike
guess
some
if they-
people.
Yeah, I guess if they read it aloud, it would be kind of boring for like a whole episode, but that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah,
We'll read it
yeah.
out loud.
I think the person, I don't know I don't know names of actors, so
Me
that would
neither.
be a problem. But when playing Vivian, she was so good. She was in Veep. I couldn't tell where the hell had
Yes. Okay, that's where she's from. That makes
she was in
sense.
Veep.
Yes, she's like the assistant. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She looked really
And
familiar.
she's fantastic. Yeah, and I was like, oh, what is it? And it took me a minute to realize, but
Okay.
I loved Veep, so that was already a good start for me.
Yeah, and apparently,
But
so
yeah,
the writer wasn't, her name is, the real writer's name is not Vivian. It is, let me see,
Jessica Pressler.
Jessica. Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
interesting that they would change
Yeah.
the name. I wonder why.
Well, I mean, I think it's because of the fact that it's not completely true. It's a narrative storytelling,
True.
and they didn't want to sell it as this is the true story. Because if it, otherwise, if it was a documentary, like their names would have been the same. But obviously. Anna Chlumsky, yes.
Who is that?
Yes, that's her. That's Vivian, the one who plays
Oh, the
Vivian.
actor. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm like, there's too
yeah,
many
and
Annas.
I know,
That's funny.
but only one Anna Delvey.
Yeah. So where the movie leaves off basically is after her court case, and she's found guilty on several of the charges, not all of the charges, which I thought was interesting and deserved some kind of analysis. But the movie ends where, or the series ends where she's getting out, and then, or she's gonna get out, and now that's basically, when did she get out? Recently, and like a couple months ago, right?
Yeah,
Or, yeah.
yeah.
And then she was,
Oh,
or was it last year?
sorry. I think it was like 2021, March
Okay.
or something, 2021.
And she was free for like 6 weeks, and she was in New York for some time just doing whatever she does. And then she got picked up by ICE because she has some sort of
Yeah.
visa problem, which makes sense. So that's where she is now. But apparently, you're allowed to have social media in whatever facility she's in because she's on
She's
Instagram.
been very active on social media. I'm following her.
Yeah. What do you think
Yeah.
of her Instagram?
I am a big fan of the Anna Delvey.
The Anna Delvey. I thought she'd have more followers than 300,000.
Um,
You think not?
I mean, I think this is what's going like. It's like she's not been in the mainstream like now. I mean, she has, but like now, it's like a next level thing. I would say that she's probably gonna get more.
Yeah, I guess
I would
Netflix
assume.
just came out. The series just came out, so she's catching up. But she posts, a fair amount. Oh, thank you. There you go. Thank you for subscribing.
It's so nice.
She's got interesting photos. Like, what is this? Is this?
I don't know. Is this from prison?
I know. And then she posts it again, and it says basic. Okay, and then
Okay.
well, I guess someone's comment was basic. And here's traditional Snapchat filters.
Oh yeah. Okay. There's no makeup in prison though, so maybe that's why.
But how are you taking photos in prison? Maybe ICE, but when she's in prison, she's taking photos? How? Wow.
No idea. I'll tell you what, like it's a very inspiring story in a very weird way.
Go on. Is this your declaration to commit
Yeah.
fraud?
I'm like, I've related to Anna a little too hard for my liking. But I'm also an immigrant and I went to the UK and like I was like, I know what she's talking about. Like I understand a little bit of that idea of just trying to having to like I think part of it obviously was like she was acting a certain way and of course she was lying a lot and stuff. But part of it when you move to another country, you do have to like change your behavior slightly to adapt to the culture you're in because cultures can be very different and it's the same for me even like coming back to Romania it's been a hard thing because like you suddenly have to readapt like to because like I don't know how to explain it. People just act a little bit different, from country to country. And in the UK, it was like, it's kind of similar to the US, but I would say it's a bit more like stuck up. So you do have to just kind of talk the way people talk and act the way people act in order to feel like you belong and to not be branded as a weirdo.
Yeah.
So I understand that aspect of it. Obviously her being just trying to be in these circles that are like very high end and very expensive and stuff, like she tried to come up with a story that would make her belong more, I would say. But I understand that kind of initial, I know where it came from, I guess is what I'm saying. And then obviously she took it way too far, but
Well, she tried. I mean, if anyone was testing out manifestation, I think it's Anna Delvey because she literally believed her. Well, I think she believed it, and she lived it, is what they say in The Secret. You have to live as if you're already rich if you want to be rich. That's what she was doing, in my opinion. She acted like she had money, and apparently it was supposed to just rain down from the universe, but I guess she needed it too quickly, is what the
Yeah.
supporters of Law of Attraction would say, that, well, she needed it too fast. It's like, okay, well, bills come every month, so what do you want? I kind of need this money now.
And the kind of bills that she might have had would have been insane. That's the one thing I don't know. I have not seen the documentary on her, and I have the book. I actually brought the book to Armenia, which is, I've obviously left 99% of my books in Scotland, but
You
I
really
brought
like
this one.
Anna.
I was like,
Interesting.
yeah.
You'd be writing your like to-do list, like how to
I'm like, this is how,
succeed
yeah.
where she failed.
This
Interesting.
is how to con the banks. But just don't ask 40 million, just ask for 400 grand. Like, nobody's gonna bat an eyelid. It's just so little money.
I wonder if she would have asked for less if she would have had more problems. Because she was asking for so much, it seemed so ridiculous that it almost was like, well, of course she must be good for it, because otherwise she would just ask for 10,000 and get rejected. So maybe because of how much she was asking for, it kind of almost helped her in a way. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think so. I think that's just apparently, at least the show tried to sell that idea that that's kind of how rich people move. So I would say probably, I know. But it's still kind of insane. I don't think that would happen here. I don't think that would happen in Europe. I
No.
just don't think I think she knew where to go or that maybe because like and I don't mean just mean like the States, but I mean like New York because people just move really quick. But stuff
Yeah.
like that I don't think it would ever happen in the UK. Like you can't do anything without you you
Approval.
just can't go, like you can't go behind. You need to go through the, at least that was my experience, and but obviously I'm not rich or anything, so I don't know how that works. But like I just don't think that that would fly, you know what I mean?
Well, I definitely think, and I've never lived in New York City, but I lived in South Florida, which is like the Miami, region, and I feel like if you if you want to fit into these groups, it's almost like an investment for the person to just believe you. Like you're taking a risk, obviously, as if any investment is a risk, right? But I'm talking about like a social investment. So people who think you may or may not be an heiress, maybe maybe they think like maybe she is 50% of the chance that she is. They're willing to befriend her and get to know her for the chance that she is rich and can help them out in their own careers or whatever later in life. So I wonder if the people that befriended her, maybe they didn't really like her. I have a feeling that most of the people who were friends with her, they don't know her. Obviously, they didn't know much about her because she was lying, or she was, there was no deeper social knowledge of her because she lived in hotels and everyone just seemed fine with it. Like, oh, she's rich, who cares? So it's like a surface level, shallow relationship that she had with everybody. But I think, I don't know, that the right type of person, that's what they want. They want the photos on Instagram. They don't actually care about having deep conversations or knowing what your parents, what they're doing, or getting to know you and your feelings about things. And I think probably not the more rich you get, but the more socialite-esque you are as a person, the less you really care about who you're surrounded with. You just want the socializing, not as much relationship building, if that makes sense. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know that to be true.
Yeah, probably. And it does like depict socialite culture in a very negative light, for sure.
Yeah, and so one of the people, as you remember, I'm sure, that was featured heavily in the series on Netflix was Rachel, the writer from Vanity Fair, who gets ripped off at the hotel in Morocco, right? Morocco? And
Yeah.
the one that Kim Kardashian or Khloe Kardashian or whoever had gone to like the week prior, and then they wanted to go there. I feel like, and I thought this before the documentary, or sorry, before the series came out, when I watched some documentaries about it, that she was not quite the victim that I think she sees herself as. And one of the, in the court case, her claims of like the $62,000 that was owed to her because of the hotel, Anna actually won that charge. And the jury sided with Anna that too bad, so sad, you gave up your credit cards, that's not her fault. And that Rachel had kind of taken advantage of Anna's kindness, and then when it was time to repay it, she didn't want to repay it. And I thought that was interesting because I thought that too, that this woman, I mean, I don't know her at all. She works for Vanity Fair, used to, or something. She doesn't seem like I don't know, like a very sympathetic victim to me. And that's victim blaming, obviously. But in this specific case, I can kind of see where the jury was coming from, that she took advantage and then she got mad when she didn't get something for free. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, so I think there's a slight delay.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I have the book. I have Rachel's book. That's the one I bought,
Okay.
and it's you can tell she's a very intelligent woman. She's not an idiot, you know, and obviously it- that was also the episode of the show this far of the first season, and that was so well made, that interrogation when she was on stand. Obviously this is a dramatization, but it is like interesting because like I can see how she might have been felt obligated to like help with bills when there's just nobody else like there, and because she was on the trip, so why not offer, um and I can also see how she was probably unaware of just how insane those bills were gonna be, and or maybe not unaware, but like I don't think anyone expects like $60,000, even for like a high-end hotel.
I don't know though, because how could you not? Like, if Kim Kardashian's going there, or any of the Kardashians are, visiting that exact hotel, how could you not know that's going to be several $1,000s a night? Plus, they're in the villa. Plus, they had to fly there. Plus, all the food. Like, I think she was well aware. She was just willing to have someone else foot the bill for her, and figured like,
Yeah.
well, I'm just a good
Oh
person.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. She
I
looks
agree.
like she's
I
doing
think
fine.
that she would have never gone had she known. I don't think that she was about to pay. Like I think she was only going because someone else was paying. It's the kind of thing I can see that, because like I don't think she's been dishonest about it in the book. I think she did say that. But obviously she is not an idiot. But anyone can be conned, that being said, and I do think there is an element of like betrayal when you're with a friend and the friend keeps saying, yeah, I'm gonna pay, but they never pay. Yeah, of course, that's, you do want to like believe them because they're your friend,
Yeah.
and especially when they've been trying to sell you this story that they're like a heiress and whatever. So I understand that, and I feel like in her situation, I would have just not had the money to pay. So that would have not happened, just because I would not have that kind of credit limit. I think my credit limit is like 900
Oh
pounds
my
or
God.
something. Like I can't. Yeah.
How do you live?
Like
Just kidding.
oh, I don't use credit cards, like not
Wow.
much.
You subscribe to the Rachel Hollis financial method of believing and
Yeah.
receiving.
No, I don't think credit cards are like, I think I had one like about 10 years ago or something, and I really just went above the limit, and then I think I just burned myself, and I was like, I'm never using credit cards again. And
So
I only have them for credit scores
okay,
purposes, so I don't really use
that was my
the
next
credit
question.
card.
That was my next question. If you in Europe, if they care about credit scores as much as they do in the U.S., like basically everything you want to do is credit score based here, and it depends on how much how much you have available to take out, and how much time you've had a credit card, how many credit cards. But they actually kind of encourage having more credit cards as long as you're paying off the balances. It's better to have a bunch here, at least.
Right. Wow. I don't know if it's like the exact same. In the UK for sure you do need a credit card, and I think that's why I got them. But for the credit score, but in Romania, for example, like
Huh.
it's not necessary. You can go and get a mortgage without it. They have
Wow.
other ways of checking, I think. But
Interesting.
in the UK, I think it's probably somewhere in between this and the US. I don't think it's as extreme. I don't think they're used as much as like when I watch the Financial Diet. Everyone subscribe, like they're amazing. When I see their like stats and stuff, and when they're explaining just how much people use, and so I'm like, I'm horrified. I just don't understand. Like that does not compute in my brain.
Interesting. I have, oh God, I'm probably gonna, well, I mean, you'll probably find it shocking, but I have like 5 credit cards, and they're mostly paid off. I share one with my fiance, and we both pay it off together because we have like flight points or whatever, so we both use it because it's the best. It's like the Sapphire one that you get a lot of travel points. But yeah, I have my own. I have all of the whole, like the pack, like the Amex, the Discover, the Visa, the MasterCard, just in case. I don't know. But I don't have, they're not all maxed out, thankfully. So, but my credit score is good. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing well. So maybe I need to start watching some sort of financial advice.
I don't know how I noticed like my credit score was bad, and that's why I got them. But that's also part of the fact that I didn't live in the UK for very long, so like they didn't have like a big track record of me aside from like my phone bill or whatever. But um it says on the the credit score website something like you should not go down to 0%, you should go between like 1% and whatever. And then I left like something like 1% on them, and then it dropped down 8 points. I was like, how are you going to tell me to use between 1% and 25%? But then it drops 8 points. My credit score drops because I used 1%. Like, that's insane.
I don't
Because
get it.
I had used zero before, and I was like, okay, well, if they're saying 1%, then I'm just gonna leave some money on there. And then I'm
Wrong.
like, what the fuck? You're lying. You're literally lying.
Well, the thing too is
Fraud.
like even them checking your credit score here, at least, like can hurt your credit score. It's like, how does that make sense? The fact that you have to pull it, so hard pull, or I'm gonna buy a car, or I'm gonna buy a house, something big. They like check it through the system, and apparently that docks my credit score. It's like, what? Why do I have this then? Like, oh, I have to drop points because you need to look it up. It's so stupid. I don't get it.
Yeah, because it's called like a hard search or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I it's the same in the UK, but like
Stupid. I don't get
that's
it.
why I don't want to use it. Like,
Yeah.
even when I got the credit cards, my credit score dropped.
That's weird. I don't
Because
get
like
it.
apparently I opened a line of credit because you need it, and I was like, but I do need it because like otherwise you're not gonna increase
What do
my
you
credit
want
score.
from me? Yeah. It's so confusing. God. See, I understand. I'm with Anna. Just rip everyone off. Because
This face for everything.
there's no, like, I know. I saw it go. There's no right answer. So it's like you might as well just fraud everybody, apparently. Okay, Angela says she pays everything off with Amex. Yeah, that's basically, like, I think the best advice. You put it on your credit card, get your points, build your credit, and then pay it off every month. And then you should be good. It just becomes a problem when some unforeseen thing happens, you don't have the full balance at the end of the month, and then now you're paying interest, and over time, I think most people are responsible. Some people may be irresponsible, but some people might be irresponsible but just have a payment that they really need to pay, like a medical bill or something. They put it on their credit card because what else are they going to do? It's not always like shopping addiction. Sometimes it's necessity.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is like interesting with Anna because like what she was trying to do there was she was trying to get line of credit essentially, you know.
Yeah. A
She
loan.
was trying to get a lot of money, but like it wasn't like she stole it from someone. It's from a bank. It's a loan. But I think the obviously the fact that her identity was so weird, like her name is not even Delvey, like that's kind of fraudulent. But
Oh,
other than
definitely.
that, if she was indeed going to do what she said, if she was going to do what she wanted to do with the money, then that's like essentially an investment.
Yeah, it's basically that she needed capital to start. The problem was her ambitions were too big for her budget. And if she would have tried to start a restaurant or something, or start, a local whatever, and then grow from there, maybe that would have been fine. But because she wanted to, start Soho House, like a version of Soho House, which I don't even know what the heck that is, to be honest. Everyone talks about it as if like that's a known thing. Like, oh yes, Soho House. I'm like, what is that? I don't know. It's some sort of
Yeah,
club or something. So she
no
wanted to make
idea.
her version of that. That was too big of an idea for someone who's poor. But it also just kind of shines a light on, it's not, oh, my ambitions are the only thing I need to succeed in life. It's like she would have totally succeeded at doing everything she tried to do if she was born rich, right? If she had the
Yeah,
money to back it up, she would have had all of the connections in the world that she needed. So,
the show definitely like makes a good point in that in just how society sees. But the first few she was blonde, and then he changed her hair color to this reddish brown, which is, by the way, I'm thinking of changing my hair color. um I don't know, what do you guys think?
vote red,
But they
brown, blonde, black, or gray in the comments below.
yeah, no like vivid anything, no oranges, no no greens, no pinks, thank you very much though. uh, just very muted. I don't know.
I like that.
Anyways, so
I support you.
yeah, I had it once before, like a long time ago. So maybe I will. I don't know. I'm kind of bored with my hair right now. So yeah,
Yeah.
but basically that part of the show was very much like just shining a light on the fact that your appearance just makes a big difference in society. And she, just because she was blonde, that banker guy, I don't know how true this is, but for in terms of if it happened to Anna or not,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely is a thing in society. Like people see you differently depending on what you're wearing and what you look like. And they made a good point with her name too. Like nobody would have given any money to Anna Sorokin.
Yeah. I guess, but to me, it's like they're both sound about the same to me. I guess because it's the Smith equivalent of like in Russian, it's Sorokin is basically Smith, or the equivalent of Smith in the United States. So it's too boring, but also, I don't know, like is Delvey, it's not like she said her name was Rockefeller or Trump or something, which was automatically associated with money, right?
Yeah, but it's definitely a there's been studies being done, and this is something that I personally was very close to. In the UK, they did this study, and apparently, if you have a foreign name, and you are 70% less likely to receive an interview.
Interesting. Okay, so you're saying the Sorokin was too foreign sounding, that the
Yeah,
Delvey is
Sorokin was
more English.
very clearly Russian, and Russians obviously have a stigma to them attached. Like, I think in terms of, I mean, I don't abide by it, or I don't like think it's a good. It's not good to have that stigma, but like I can see as an immigrant myself, like just how people look at you. In me too. Like I'm Romanian. Like people don't see Romanians in a good light in the western of Europe, and it sucks when you're in that situation. It really sucks because you're like, why are you looking at me differently when I tell you where I'm from? And
Yeah.
it's a reality. And I feel like, I don't know. I just thought that was, like I said, I related a little too hard with this.
No, I think that's good. That's the whole point. It's because you can, like, is she a villain or is she a hero? And I think, as with everyone in the world, we're a little bit of both in our own stories, in our lives. Like, we're not always oh, thank you for subscribing. We're not always, 100% good or 100% bad, or, sometimes something tips the scales, into one or the other. But I think everyone probably has, oh, thank you, Sarah. I think everyone has a little bit of everything in them all the time, as Bo Burnham would say, a little bit of everything all of the time.
All of the time.
Yeah. So, I think I can also see, and we're talking about, someone in the comments was saying that, why didn't she just get a sugar daddy, or like, at least she didn't get a sugar daddy. And even Jen says on the screen now that she just wanted to be self-sufficient, self-made. And so, yeah, I think there is some element of, she is a woman, she's kind of breaking the stereotype of depending on a man to support her, or depending on a partner to support when you're the one that's not financially stable. She was going out there as a go-getter, trying to make that bag, make that money. Whether, she should have done it the way she did, I think the answer is no. She shouldn't. You should never go try to commit fraud. It's not the lesson here. But, I mean, she is kind of doing what a lot of people who give advice say to do. Fake it till you make it, right? That's a very common, mantra. Be self-sufficient, do it yourself, self-made, boss babe. Okay, she did that. The only thing I can see that she didn't have going for her is her background. But whenever we hear this advice from other influencers about, you can do it too, just like me, they always leave out that background cash. And that's basically the whole point of this channel, and this whole point of us, like, half the videos that both of us make are, that's always there somewhere, is that startup capital. And that's what we don't talk about enough. And Jay Prince disagrees. She says she doesn't want to be self-sufficient. She used everyone. And that's an interesting point too. What do you think about that? I mean, I'm torn.
I think she does. I think she is ambitious, in my opinion. I think she's very smart. I think she's very ambitious. I think she saw the way that society works, or at least like a big chunk of how it works, and she figured, why not try to do this? And I think she would have potentially done it because she liked that socialite life. She liked that environment, so I think she would have liked to stay in that environment. So I think if she had succeeded in getting a loan, she would have probably opened that art gallery, and she would have probably continued to just kind of have a business and stuff, just to have that, to belong in that world, and just to have a thing to do. But I think where she went wrong is that she underestimated just how powerful these things in society are actually rooted, and just how difficult it is to break away from that. I think because there is even a point, and it made me think, there was a point in the show where she says, if I wanted to have the money, I would have just married one of these bankers, and that's it. And I think, that's interesting that she has that line, and probably true, because she's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. She could have probably, like, she could have probably had some guy fall in love with her and marry him or whatever. But um I think she just really didn't realize that this was that society really just doesn't doesn't people. Had she been slightly smarter, she probably should have married that guy. She probably should have tried to get the foundation done through that avenue. I think she would have been more successful, and she probably would have never gotten caught, because once, like, if she had a husband or the banker or whatever, like, nobody would have, like, managed to not give her a loan. Like, she would have gotten a loan in no time. But I think she really just thought, no, I think I can. She didn't think that society is as bad as it is. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think the only reason I could think of why she wouldn't want to get a man involved is because if she was to meet someone under the false pretense that she was this heiress, and then they get married, I mean, that man would have access to all of her background, I suppose, or she would have to, if they were going to be legally married, she would have to give her real name, I would imagine. So I don't know, maybe she was trying to keep the ruse going. So if she brought someone in, you know, in a legal sense, that maybe she would be exposed for being a poor person, and that was worse. Because like I think the image to her is much more important than reality, obviously. And it is to a lot of people, because look at how many people she tricked just by the mirage of expensive clothes and expensive taste. I mean, she has, I don't know. I mean, as a 22-year-old girl, how many 22-year-old girls with no money are friends with writers from Vanity Fair? Not many, I don't think, you know, but people who have money and pose themselves as like this like high class person. You know, it makes sense for someone like Rachel to spend her time developing a relationship with this heiress because, well, first of all, she's getting all this free stuff. And second of all, she is, you know, she's hoping that maybe one day she'll be able to take money from Anna and write a book or something. I don't know what she thought, but I don't think just like her personality won her over. In the movie, it makes her seem like kind of a bitch. Like she's kind of classist, she's kind of rude, she's, you know, stuck up, like, but she has a ton of friends. Why is that? Because she's got money. Jay Prince is going off in the comments.
Yeah.
That's okay. You can write as much as you want. We appreciate the comments. Trust us. We like it. I think you're delayed, Cam.
Yeah, so I do think that, you know, yeah, I know. I think there's a slight delay. Sorry about that. So I think Jay Prince does have a point. Like she did do things that are like objectively wrong. You know, she did like charge these, like she stayed in hotels without paying, but just in the room.
You cut out a little bit. I think we missed the big point of that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Gonna get your
I was just
Wi-Fi.
saying, you know, just the stuff like, oh God, again, 1 second. I think it's just stuff like staying in a hotel for free and stuff like that. It makes me just think, why are these hotels that expensive in the first place, you know? Because like, yeah, I understand the fact that they're providing a service and that it's luxury service and stuff, but that it has like a gigantic margin in terms of like how much they ask for this. Like, it does expose the fact that this world is completely bullshit and made up, you know, like the world of the rich, if you like. Because there is no reason for those hotels. Like, there is no reason to go to Morocco for 1 week and have to spend $60,000. That is insanity. That is absolute insanity. And it's not that, oh my God, the hotel is like, yeah, the hotel is luxury. But why is the jump so big from like an average hotel to like, you know, like it doesn't justify that gigantic jump.
Well, I think the reason is, and it's with everything that is that much money, it's an exclusivity thing. So, you know, it keeps the riffraff, as, you know, some people might say, out. You know, any person can save a couple $1,000, you know, even people who don't make that much probably at some point of their life could save. And if they wanted to splurge on a, you know, nicer hotel, a couple $1,000, they might do it. But very limited amount of people can splurge 60 grand worth. And so you're really only dealing with a certain type of person, and it's almost like a nod, wink, wink. This place is not for people who aren't at a certain level of wealth and prestige and class. So it's an unsaid, like anyone could technically buy, a room there, but they're saying it without saying it, that like, well, if you want to go into debt for the rest of your life for 1 weekend, it doesn't make sense. But the people who, you know, the Bill Gates of the world, those types of people with lots of money, and even the people who, you know, work in pharmacy or whatever, we've never heard their name before, and they make millions per year, they can go. So that when you're at the resort, all you're talking to is people who can help you in business, are also rich. You know, it's like, I don't know, it's like a self-sustained bubble almost of people. Oh, goodbye, Cam. See you later. Oh, well, Cam will be back any moment, I'm sure. Oh wait, she's here. She's back.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We missed you for those 4 seconds. But and Ada, excuse my pronunciation, but she says, you know, with the sugar daddy, he would hold the power, not her. She seemed to want power and prestige for herself, and I totally agree. I think I think she was willing. She wanted to rip someone off herself, and almost. I mean, I don't know. It almost is kind of the business mindset because, for example, like an industry that's kind of predatory, in my opinion, is like short-term loans or fast loans, where you get a loan for, like a place where you have to, like a check cashing store, and they give you an advance. I mean, most people who are using those services are people who are paycheck to paycheck, who have low income, who need to pay rent or something in an emergency. And then the loan, like percent, the interest on those are so ridiculously high. It's almost impossible to pay them off. And even if you pay it off, they'll hit you with like a special fee that you didn't know about. And there's tons of information about that, why those are predatory. So is that much different from the CEO of a company like that taking advantage of thousands of people for $1,000 at a time? Is that much worse than Anna taking advantage and taking money from rich people? I mean, I think they're totally different, but also, like, her victims were
like
rich.
it's way worse what these people that we talk about on our channel do, because they're targeting people who are vulnerable. Anna was targeting banks who have like money to loan. She was targeting people who were already rich, who didn't really like. Yes, sure, she stayed in luxurious hotels, but she didn't take money from like vulnerable people, like other
Yeah.
people, who, for example, Marie Forleo says that somebody sold her couch to come to her conference. That is taking advantage of a person who's in need, who
Yeah.
doesn't have money. And Anna was not taking advantage of those people. She was taking advantage of people who already wanted to share in money and who already had a lot to spend. She was like, that's why it's very hard. It's very hard to feel sorry for those people. It's very hard. Well, okay, with Rachel, I understand that she went into credit, but even her credit was like, if that's true, and I actually didn't finish the book, but like if that's true, and her credit was just scrapped eventually, then like,
I mean, she's not to like point out like, I'm sure she suffered in some way. But if you look at her Instagram today, I mean, she's like her pictures look pretty good. A weekend off the grid. Okay, so she's, traveling. She's eating pizza in the coast, Amalfi Coast. I don't think she ended up destitute on, in the New York Times, or New York Times, in Times Square, homeless because of what happened to her. If anything, she wrote the book that you have.
she wrote a book, yeah.
And made money from it, and also got exposure, and also she has a verified account. Yes, she went through something difficult, and I don't think anyone should be stolen from. It's not a good thing to do. But yes, I think the people that Anna targeted were almost trying to use her, and she almost flipped the script and said, "No, I'm actually using you," because I think you could argue that Rachel was at the very least taking advantage of a kind, generous friend, as they say in the court case scenes, that, that's what Anna was. She bought dinner, she wanted her to be around, spa treatments, champagne, etc. And then when it came time to, hey, okay, I know I said I could pay for this, but I can't actually because my bank account, whatever, she wasn't interested in repaying the favor. So, I mean, and then also after all said and done, she gets the money back because she's now got all this notoriety. And I guess, is notoriety a negative term? Does that mean that the person's like negative,
No.
like infamous? Okay, notoriety can be positive. I always get confused with that. So she's got all this notoriety and kind of exposure, which we know as someone, we both, I think at some point have been in the marketing arena, is like priceless. People pay millions of dollars to get that type of exposure, even if it's somewhat negative. And Rachel gets to be kind of the hero of her own story, I think, in her mind, and she gets to be the victim. She's not, she gets to say like, oh, I was taken advantage of. She's not the Anna who has to be kind of the character in the story where it's, everyone hates her and she's bad.
Does anyone know in the comments if indeed it's true that American Express scrapped that? Because it's in the show, but I've not seen the documentary and I didn't finish the book. So I don't know if American Express actually scrapped that fee. But if they did scrap her fee, then I'm sorry to say, but she's not a victim absolutely at all. Like, yes, sure, there was stress. There was a level of stress and insane stress, but like once like your fee got scrapped, whatever. Who? like the stress is gone. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? What yeah, sure. It's not easy to go through that, but at the same time, I don't know who would be in a position so privileged that that the credit card company would like just scrap $60,000.
Well, people with Amex cards usually are on the higher end of the financial, not always, but usually people with Amex are not the ones that are just getting one credit card to, make it to the next day, from what I understand, because there's higher fees involved. So, if you have an Amex and you're using it, you probably have some wealth or some financial backing to be able to afford that card, because that's not the cheapest one that you can get. And she lived and worked in New York at a, huge magazine. So, I would assume she had some savings. I think if you end up like homeless from an experience, like, yes, that's a horrible thing to go through. Like, you were top of your game and now you're homeless and you have no finances. That's like, oh my God, I can't imagine. But yeah, you're inconvenienced for a couple years, and you also got a lot of money out of it, and you got, to be famous. I think it kind of evened out a little bit.
And also, well, I think it more than evened out if the show is true, because in this regard, because she also got paid for the Netflix show.
Probably, I think so, because well, Anna got like $300,000, and that basically paid back the people she scammed, and the hotel. So that took care of that, essentially all of her money from Netflix. And now she's also doing a documentary with like the Bill Murray Productions that did the R. Kelly documentary. So they're shooting that right now, and she's getting paid for that as well. So Anna's gonna be fine. I think Rachel, and even Jay Prince says that in an interview, Rachel said that they took care of the charges, and Laura says that Rachel confirmed they reimbursed the hotel charges, which were the bulk. She had to pay a few $1,000s. I mean, that's nothing. If you're
Yeah.
living in New York
I
City, that's 1 month of rent, a few $1,000s for her.
If anything, I think Anna, and granted she is guilty and that's true, but she did time in prison. Like, it's, do you know what I mean? She
Yeah.
first like didn't get any money from this, what's been done. Well, okay, so she's famous, so I guess she's got that. But at the same time, she not only paid back what she took, but also she'd spent time in jail. So I kind of feel like at this moment in time, she's done, she's done her punishment, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, and I don't know, I just don't hate her. I just think
And you don't have
I
to. I
just
don't hate her either, honestly, to be honest. I think I don't know if it's too far to say she's like a Robin Hood of New York. I think that might be a little bit unfair, but I don't think her victims were not as sympathetic as, I think personally, self-help influencers who get people to spend, like you said, thousands and thousands of dollars to come to their conferences. I think that victim, someone who goes to that and wastes their money, is worse off than anyone that Anna ripped off. And even,
absolutely.
and someone said about the woman, the older woman, the mom of the boyfriend in the beginning part of the series, and she even said it in the show that, oh, I have a friend at the bank and they reimbursed me 100%. It's like, okay, so
Yeah.
where's the damage? you know?
Yeah. No, the thing is, I feel like it's similar with the Elizabeth Holmes situation a little bit, in the sense that she ripped off rich people, so rich people got upset. And that's, if these have, if they hadn't been rich, I don't know that things would have gone so far if the hotel was not a 5 star and it wasn't whatever, and it was just a general, like, I don't know, a normal hotel
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't cost a lot of money. I don't know if they would have even taken her to court, or, like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that is what makes me really just, this is why I feel like it's more of a, it's it just kind of underlines just how damaging this, like, separation between social classes is. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's why I don't see Anna as like super guilty. I mean, yes, she's lied. She has like pushed things to like a level that she probably shouldn't have done it. But
Mm-hmm.
then I believe that rich people do this anyway. Like, I think they probably get to go to banks and be like, "Oh, hey, so I know this guy and can you give me a loan of I don't know how much?" And they would probably get it just because, and they won't, they will still be alone.
Yeah,
So what's the difference? Why not get it? Why not give it to Anna? You
because
know,
she's
or
not
like, why
rich.
should, yeah, exactly. But like the difference is like the reality is that those people could also start a business and fail. And the business could fail, and then the bank could potentially, like, I don't know if how those things work and if they get their money back another way. But at the same time, like, she could have had a business that didn't fail, and she seemed to be quite dedicated, at least in the show, the way they portrayed her. Like, she was not interested, like, in romance. She was not interested in many things other than that. She was obsessed with her foundation, and she wanted to make it happen. And you could say that maybe this was just the story that she got used to telling, but like, it seems like that was the only thing she wanted, really, on the surface at least.
Yeah, I think maybe the problem was that she started to almost co-opt the way that I think people with more money think. Like, she started off as a poor person, kind of mimicking a rich person, but over time and maybe over being around people who have a lot of wealth, she almost got into that mindset of everything is my playground. I can do anything I want because I have, all the resources in the world. But she almost forgot for a second, like, wait, I don't. I can't. And this is, going to catch up with me eventually. I don't know. Maybe she started off like, I'm just going to do this temporarily, get people to give me money, start off the foundation, and then we'll get going and I'll be fine. And then kind of forgot, like, oh, wait, I have to actually figure this out somehow. I don't know. Maybe she got wrapped up in her own. I mean, I think there's some sort of, as with any of these things, mental thing going on where it's like, I mean, she's mentioned herself sociopath several times. I don't even know what that diagnosis is exactly, but she's talked about it on her Instagram and her Twitter that she claims to be a sociopath. Like, she's self-diagnosing that herself. So, I mean, that would make your brain function differently, I would imagine.
Um, Probably, yeah, probably. I think what happened, if I am to just kind of guess, because obviously I don't know any more than what I saw in the show and what's in the news.
Sure.
But if I was to guess, I would say that what she wanted to just get over this threshold, and then I think she would have had no problem to be like, actually, I was not a heiress and I was not this and that. But see, I have a flourishing business, so who cares?
Well,
You know?
okay. Great point. Now, do you know who Dean Graziosi is?
Oh,
He does
yes.
this. He literally did the same thing, and he revealed it in an interview, and maybe we can find it, where he is talking to Jenna Kutcher, whatever her name is, and he's like, "Oh, I was selling his, How to Become a Millionaire." Books or whatever he was selling. He's like, meanwhile, I was living in my car. And it's telling this whole tale as if it's some sort of aspirational thing that, like, wow, see, I lied to everybody, but it was because of my determination that I, succeeded. It's like, so it's good if it works out at the end, but if you can't make it work out in time, then you're a criminal, basically.
Yeah.
Because couldn't that
Yeah.
be fraud, that he's telling people he's a millionaire? In reality, he's, in debt, living in his car.
Yeah. And yeah. And I think this is the kind of tragedy of the situation with Anna, because I feel like she would have made it happen. I know that, yeah, I put it, yeah, that's the comment I was looking at right now.
I'm sorry.
She did spend it on frivolous things, but she was trying to kind of get in that world. I feel like it was like, in my eyes, it's something of a it's almost like a marketing expenses.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. It's like a celebrity or anything that they want to be perceived as a certain person or a certain level of something. Or if you go into a job interview and you wear a nice suit, I think it's all part of the facade of, okay, I'm a trustworthy person. I have money. I have, stability, whatever. Or if you go on a date and you wear something, you wear a Rolex watch. Is that lying? Is that like misleading, defrauding your potential date? Or is it just, what everyone does? I don't know. She just took it to the extreme.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the sad part is that it's something that I feel like is almost necessary. Like for she would have never gotten anywhere close had she not lied about her background. Like
A
not
hundred
even
percent. Yeah.
not even a centimeter close to like any, like nobody would have paid any attention to her. They would have not invited her to anything. They would have not even like looked at her twice if she went to a bank to ask for like nobody would have even given her a second thought
Yeah.
had she not lied that she was. The only reason was because of the lie, and she knew that this was the reality. And it's just kind of sad to think that you could be, it doesn't matter if you have a good idea or not, you're looked at as poor and nobody gives a shit about you.
Yeah, that's true. And I think she figured that out and said most people figure that out and go, well, that's unfortunate, and then go about their normal day or go back and, just say, okay, well, that sucks that that's true. But, I was born into this style. I married someone about the same income as me. So I guess I'll just never see that dream to fruition. But, she had the thought, and maybe it's chemical imbalance. Maybe it's just because she's ambitious, but she had the thought and goes, well, I'm going to do something about it. I'm just going to lie. And some people, lying is not, we lie all the time for different things. Again, like, what is a lie? Let's break down a lie. Like, is it presenting yourself as something you're not? But isn't that kind of against, well, you can be whatever you want to be at any time? I mean, that's what I learned in school. You can be whatever you want to be. It's like, well, I want to be a rich socialite. Well, you can't be that because you're poor. It's like, okay, well, that's not fair.
The part that is annoying is also that this is something that you actually, like, whether you know it or not, you do it anyway. And I recently noticed this in because I sent my applications for master's degrees and stuff. You have to write an essay and stuff. Nobody is going to write that essay and just like be like, oh, so I failed this and this and this, but then I succeeded at this. Everybody's going to leave out the part where they failed, because why the fuck would you put that in an essay? You're trying to present yourself in the best possible light.
Yeah.
You're trying to like just draw attention to the positive things you've done. You're trying to show that you fit in with the whatever it is that you're applying for. And this goes for like jobs and like any cover letter that you've ever written. That's what it is. And you have to, you're not lying, you are leaving things out, but you have to. And that's, I think, what is this was, she was leaving out the fact that she was poor. And it's like, yes, it's next level, it's kind of extreme, but like at smaller or higher levels, it's still the same principle that applies. Like, you cannot, for a fact that if you say in a job interview that you have been fired from your previous job, that they're gonna be like, well, thank you very much for your time, goodbye. Like, nobody's gonna be like, yeah, okay, so you were fired, yeah, we'll try to understand. That they're not gonna understand, so you're not even gonna bring it up. You're just gonna, you might potentially even leave that job completely out of your CV or resume. And because it's not in your advantage to tell them.
Yeah.
It's very sad. But like I had to, I thought about this recently because of these essays, and I was like, you can't just tell them the truth. You can just say it and be like, yeah, so I've done a lot of things that failed, so here I am applying for a master's degree. Like, no, that's
now I'm
not
gonna fail
sell you.
here. Yeah. I would love to fail at your university.
Sold on you.
I think the interesting part too is, they say like the truth will set you free. It's like the truth will set you free from any opportunities of success in the future if you tell the truth about, how you really feel. Like, a great point about the interview. It's like in an interview setting, people ask, and I think it's the stupidest question you could possibly, because no one's going to give you the right answer. It's almost like they're testing you of how well you can lie, where it's like, what's your biggest weakness? I try too hard. I care too much. It's like, what else are you supposed to say? Like, well, I really struggle with workplace conflict. I really fucking hate being at work, and all my coworkers, I just want to go home at 5 on the dot and not deal with
I'm never on time. I work very little.
Exactly. Like, I'm an alcoholic. I will be drinking at all times during this shift. It's like, no, that's not, our greatest weakness. Like, I have lots of stalking charges on me that I didn't want to talk about. It's just like, None of those things are going to get you the job. So you say like, I just really love people and I just don't want to love them too much. It's like, oh God, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's all
Or even
silly.
when they ask stuff like, why do you want to work for a company? It's like, you just posted a job. I'm looking for a job. You can't say that. You cannot say that. Everybody knows it. Everybody and their fucking mothers. Sorry, we shouldn't be swearing. We said we're not gonna swear. We already got demonetized for some reason, but anyway, um,
It's fine.
basically you can't even though it's a universal truth and everybody knows that they posted a job listing and you apply to the job listing because you're looking for a job, they're still going to be like, so why do you want to work for our company? It's like, I've been passionate about your company since the day I saw this listing. Oh my god, like since I
Yesterday.
googled the name yesterday, I have just fallen in love at first. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to, they're literally asking you to lie. They're like, it's like, I
Yeah,
don't
like
fucking care about your company. I don't even know who you are.
it's just like instead of asking that question, they should just say, "Can you kiss our ass for the next minute and a half?" Like, oh, sure.
Yeah.
So I just love you, and like, oh my god, yeah, exactly. But okay, so to bring it back to this conversation about Anna, there's like a societal, and it depends on the culture, it depends on where you are and the time period, but there seems to be known but silent levels of lies you're allowed to use. And I wonder where that threshold changes, because you're allowed to, on your resume, obviously say that you were much more responsible for things than you probably actually were. Like, I led the team on this thing, and maybe you were part of the team, but you want to make yourself look good, or you don't say your weaknesses, you omit anything that makes you look bad. Okay, that's pretty universally accepted. Everyone expects that. It's almost, you look stupid if you don't do that, right? If you don't lie about everything. When
Yeah.
you're dating someone, it's pretty expected that you're going to not tell people that you snore really loud and that you cheated on all your boyfriends before, your girlfriends in the previous 3 relationships you were in, and most parents end up not liking you because you're hard to talk to or whatever. You're going to put on your dating profile that you're a guy who loves fishing, and you're going to make it look really like beautiful and fun. That's also acceptable. And if you don't do that, you're not even get matched with anybody, so you don't even have a chance to present yourself to somebody. Okay, so where does, and even applying for things, you might say you have a little more income than you might have possibly to try to get some sort of loan to get the chance to start your business. That seems to be okay, perhaps. I don't know, maybe when it comes to finance the line is more strict, but I mean, what do you think? Like, what do you think crosses the line, when someone's hurt or what?
I think it's when it angers people for the sole fact that how dare I think it's a situation of like, this is like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for intimidating. Like, it intimidates people to be like how can she possibly even try? Like, how can she
The
be so
audacity.
bold? The audacity, yeah, and they find it, and I wonder if this is a, like, I wonder how many people, like, in those circles that she ever came across. I wonder how many of them are like, how the fuck did I not think of this? Like, or
Probably. Well, they don't need the money. It seems like most people in the circles, parents, or I don't know where their money comes from, but I'm assuming generationally, I would imagine most people whose job entails socialite is their title, or art collector. I would imagine that is a generational wealth thing. It's like, I'm just doing these things for fun. Or philanthropist, like, right? That just means you have money from your parents. Am I wrong?
yeah, yeah, and it's not something. I'm seeing Ada's comment, the falseness in society, isn't it? Yeah, and the thing is, it's not something recent either, because there used to be kings that had like castles and palaces, and they would like invite. One of the things that I read about recently was that Louis XIV, the king of France, basically realized that he didn't have much power over the aristocrats, that the aristocrats in France owned their own lands, and he owned very little.
Hmm.
So as a king, so what he did is he built Versailles, which is the gigantic glorious castle, and he invited all of them to live there in order to have power over them. So, and when he was king, he was extremely strict, so he would routinely have people like killed for no reason. Like it was,
Mm-hmm.
it was very strict. And that kind of like behavior was became like they used to be not so stuck up and not so like false before,
Mm.
but then they had to, because they couldn't be honest. Like, if the king asked something, they couldn't be honest because they would get literally murdered
Yeah.
if they said
Question
something that
anything.
displeased. Yeah. And it's very interesting because like these things are just they I don't think that we can ever get away from them, because I think we are social beings. And I think because of the fact that our literal survival as we were, evolving in as humans and homo sapiens and stuff, I think our survival just depended on society. And
Mm-hmm.
because when it depends, when your survival depends on getting the job, it depends on getting the loan, it depends on all these things, you literally just have no option but to lie. You have no You can't be too honest unless the truth is in your favor, like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I totally agree. And I think it's like we're told from a young age, at least in the United States, that everyone's equal. Everyone has a fair chance to become what they want to become in America. That's the American dream. No matter what you do or where you came from, it could be a foreign country, it could come from poverty, whatever it is, that is pushed down your throat, that you can do whatever you want as long as you stick your mind to it. That's what they always say. But the more and more, at least personally, I feel like I've gotten older and more mature and a little wiser when it comes to these things. It really is just a false narrative that, you have, yes, technically everyone has a chance, but out of the 10 million people or more, much more, that are poor, one will succeed. And that's pretty typical. And that's if you're born into nothing. If you have money, the chances are, if a million people have money, you're more likely to have a million by the end of your life than someone who's born poor is going to have a million at the end of their life. It just is what it is. Like, you have the money, as long as you don't blow it, which most people don't, I would imagine, you can keep it and keep it in the family and keep, generationally sending it down the line. But it makes you feel bad. I almost wish that we would just say, like, well, luck of the draw, you're born into America rich, great, you're the luckiest of all of us. If you're born in America poor, well, you're still luckier than some people in other countries, perhaps, because you have more chance to give it a shot. But I just wish it was more honest, because being lied
There
to
was
about that sucks. It just makes you feel like you're incapable of succeeding when you really didn't have that much of an opportunity.
There is a TikToker that I saw recently, and she is a black woman in London, and I think she comes from like a really just kind of modest background. But I think she's either married to someone who has more money, or she made money later in life.
Mm.
And she was talking in this TikTok about the fact that she's sending her daughter to kind of like a private school, which private schools in the UK are, in most of countries in Europe, because we have like public schools, private schools are just kind of like for the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent her daughter to the school, and one of these days, um, recently, and she's like in the first grade or something. She's really young, and she came home and she asked for a pound, because like the teacher asked them to bring a pound to school to learn how to grow it. And the woman, the mother, was like googling like, what kind of plant is this that they're trying, and she was like,
How to
couldn't
grow it.
wrap her mind on what's this. Like, she thought it's like some sort of plant. And then she's like, no, no, like a literal money. They are teaching them in these like expensive schools. They're teaching them from grade 1 how to
Mm-hmm.
grow money, how to invest money. And she was just like shocked, and she was like, I couldn't believe it, because this is not something that is taught in like other schools and like state schools. Like, nobody cares to teach people how to invest and how to whatever. And made that I can't remember what her name is, but I follow her on TikTok, and I was like, yeah, like I don't think I heard about investing until I was like 27.
Yeah. Me neither. I still don't know. I have a or not investor. I have a financial advisor, and I still have no idea what I'm doing because it's difficult to understand because there's so many risks involved. It's like I don't know. Yeah, it would have been easier to learn, theoretically about it when I was younger. And I like what you said when you said, they don't care to teach us that. Do you think it's that, or do you think it's on purpose, sort of like stay ignorant so that you do end up in these careers? Like as an Amazon warehouse worker, as opposed to Amazon CEO.
Oh, you're bringing this. Well, here's the thing. I have a very strong stance on this, and that's because like I live right now and I grew up in this country, and we were communists for a very long time. We were under a dictator for almost 50 years. So in like part of the my mom and dad, everyone in my family that is of an older generation, they grew up being brainwashed, being going to school every morning, singing an ode to the president, and um they the intellectuals were like routinely imprisoned, books were like burnt in the streets. um Often they would like it wasn't like forbidden, like people could still go to university and stuff like that. But for example, let's say I wanted to go to a university and I wanted to go to do a foreign exchange. First of all, it was like almost close to impossible to leave the country when we were a dictatorship. And but let's say that they approved it and they sent me to France to study, and let's say my sister wanted to apply, she could have never been accepted because they consider that one brain is fine, but two brains together might come up with something. So there were a lot of things like that that they wanted the population to, they did not allow on TV. They didn't allow like news like you see now that you can access from anywhere. And this is the Romania during that time was the closest thing to North Korea today. So if you go to North Korea, you're not going to have access to like Google, Facebook, like stuff like that. Like that's how strict it was. Like they only got the main channel, and the main channel
State
was like
run.
severely, yes, it's state run and severely censored. And they wanted people not to know. People thought that was the only party, and that was the only party. It became the only party because they obliterated their competition. And for 50 years this happened. So yeah, education is okay, maybe not now, not as much, not to that level, but it is coming from somewhere. And what you're being taught in school is decided somewhere. Who
That's
decided and how they decided.
Well, now we're talking about a whole thing in the United States right now that's going on with this, like, what do students learn? Because right now it's mostly at the state level. So, in the 50 states, every state has their own curriculum. And that was the case for many years. When I was growing up, Florida had the FCAT was like what they call it, the Florida curriculum, something, I don't know. But you had to take it and you had to pass it in order to move on. But, Georgia might not have a state standard test. They have a different one. And then when Obama got in office, then they wanted to do a more nationally based curriculum. They called it a Common Core. So Common Core curriculum throughout all of the United States would have to, you could have differences of how you taught or what types of tests you would give, but ultimately every student in the United States was going to have to know the same material in order to graduate. And people were pissed. Like, people did not like that. I think it kind of like, I don't even know what happened to it, but that was a big, deal when it happened. And then, controversial. And now, fast forward to 2022, there's lots of talk about banning books, and that seems to be a popular thing going on right now, where there's certain books about the Holocaust, certain books that could make people feel uncomfortable about racism, that they're banning. Critical race theory is like the big one right now, and it's such a buzzword because even saying critical race theory, I think, and this is my opinion, it's not fact that I'm saying right now, but critical race theory, from what I understand, is like a theoretical thing that's discussed at a high level in college when your degree is racial studies. That's what actual critical race theory is. And basically, at the principle level, it's like, because you're born black or because you're born white, you have different experiences in life regardless. Doesn't matter what you do, how much money necessarily you make, it, like at the core of that, you're going to have differences in your life. So, and also systemically, banks, housing, things affect you based on the color of your skin. That's how I understand it. Now, what they're saying in schools at like the 4th grade level, obviously that's not going to be the curriculum, the college level, stuff they teach there. But they don't even want it to seem like there's any sort of difference between races. Like every race has equal opportunity, equal chance, and that's what they want to teach, that there's no difference. But is that true? I mean, 50 years ago, I guess maybe 70 years ago now, we talked about this on a different stream, but black people couldn't live in the same areas. They couldn't own homes in the same areas that white people could. So theoretically, if your great-grandpa bought a house on the beach in California, you could only be white to do that. So the generational wealth that comes from that purchase of that land at that time could theoretically never be in a black family. And it's like that does affect, it's affected, the race, the wealth and everything is affected because of that person's race, even though it's 4 generations later.
Not to mention generational trauma, and
all that stuff.
that they're saying that slavery was super long ago, but not really.
No, it's pretty recent. And, we had Jim Crow laws after that, and we had, discrimination for a long time. And we still face discrimination, in this country. People of color do, and women, and, it's not gone for sure. They just do it a little bit more subtly, I think. But, there's huge conversations about that. People are protesting. And the whole point is, this is like protesting on elementary schools. Apparently somebody knows how important it is that the knowledge that kids learn, it affects them along their path in life. And so a lot of people are afraid that if kids learn that there's differences and that some people are pushed down simply because of where they came from, then maybe that won't continue on. And that's not okay for some people in this country. So, somebody knows that it's important. And they act like, oh, kids are just stupid. But a lot of times it's like, well, why do you care so much what they learn in high school? Or why do you care so much what they learn in the 4th grade? And going back to the finance thing, I think, because big corporations benefit when people aren't financially savvy and overspend and use interest rates and indulge or whatever, and they have to pay back the interest for a long, long time. Like that's how businesses literally survive. Is on interest rates. So they need people who are struggling and perpetually struggling because otherwise they wouldn't have as much profit.
Yeah, and the Financial Diet made a video a long time ago that I watched in which they were talking about basically the gist of the video was something along the lines of it's expensive to be poor because there's just so many hidden costs, there's so many fees. If you can't afford, like if you don't have a salary or whatever and you can't afford to have a bank account and you need to cash checks instead, that will cost money. There's literally something. And this happened to me when I was in the UK, because when I first moved to the UK, I didn't have a bank account yet. And I got a check because I worked at this university for like a week or 2 weeks, and I got a check. And when I went to cash the check, I lost like 30 pounds or something like that. Like it was like a huge percentage because I think I got like 300 pounds or something, and then they got like 10%. I was like, what the fuck? Like and it's true. And imagine when you were struggling like that perpetually, and then more and more of these fees add up, and not to mention if you have like medical bills or something, and you then suddenly have like a big expense, and like of course it becomes really, really expensive to like survive, really, just to stay alive.
Yeah, and same thing with housing. If you don't have the capital or you don't have the paycheck coming in to afford a home or afford an apartment, your options are to stay at a motel, like a weekly motel or something, which is higher fees, but they don't check your credit, so you end up paying more per month than you would at an apartment. But because you don't have to have the background check or whatever on your finances, you're able to do it. But okay, who needs that? People who have low income. So they're paying, instead of paying $1,000 for a home that they can live in longer term and start to build their wealth up, they have to go to a temporary solution, pay $2,000 a month, and never feel comfortable because they're not in a secure place that they own or that they have legal rights to be in. So yes, I agree. And the check cashing thing is the most, interesting concept, I think, because you're right. Yeah, having a bank account costs money usually, and in very rare cases, like you have to have a direct deposit set up where it's, putting money into your account every month automatically, or you have to pay a fee every month, or you have to have a certain threshold of money in that bank account in order for it to not have a fee. So if you are, again, on the lower end of the, financial spectrum, it's going to be costing you more to upkeep anything. And if you're already behind, getting behind more and more, is this person that keeps popping up here. I don't understand. I'm banning them again. So yeah, I don't know. It's rough.
And that's why, like, when these things are literally coming from the governments, from most of them, really, like, take advantage of like the entire citizenship, like literally, like everyone in a country is affected by the decisions that this government makes, like in terms of how much tax you pay, how much everything, like those are, to me, much bigger scams than Anna Delvey, or than, like, like if the government of the US, let's say, was to tax the rich instead of taxing the poor, how different would that be? Imagine that.
Good luck. Good luck. That's a whole conversation too about like, well, it's like a defense of billionaires, and I think and this is a whole separate, like, off topic kind of, but sort of on topic. A lot of people say, like, oh, tax the rich, tax the billionaires, and then the opposite side says, well, no, you shouldn't. It's not their fault that they were successful. And it's like, okay, I can see both sides. I can see, like, well, they have $20 billion. They can never spend it in this lifetime. It doesn't, like, people are literally dying on the streets of from starvation. It makes sense for that person to, out of just being human, should probably want to give some of that up to their fellow citizen. But regardless of that, separate from that, of how they should probably feel as a human being, the government telling them to give up a certain amount, people argue about it. And I think part of the self-help problem is that self-help tells you that if you don't believe you could be a potential billionaire, so if you don't think of yourself as a future Elon Musk, then you're a negative person. You're a negative thinker. So of course you're going to defend billionaires because you think you are a billionaire in the making, even if you are like a dude working at like a tire shop, and it's so weird. Some of the people that defend, rich people not paying their fair share of taxes, because they've been told, I think, in a lot of these spaces, with self-help, or even for the male side, the more masculine side, where it's like the alpha male mentality, you're only one thing away from becoming Elon Musk. And you need to think of it like that all the time. And I think it's almost what Anna Delvey did, where she convinced herself, I'm rich, I'm just going to act like it, and one day it'll be true. And I think that's true for a lot of people. They believe, if I just believe a little harder, then I'm going to have the money in my bank account tomorrow by wishing magically. And it just, it's most likely not going to happen.
No, and I think people tend to this is we're gonna get sued by the US government, by any government. But I think people just, they don't understand just how much corruption is going on behind the scenes. I will never be convinced that these billionaires are not taxed because it's in the best interest of the country. These billionaires, in my opinion, in my very as a foreigner, by the way, if you're gonna sue us, you have to do it internationally, just saying. Anyway, I believe this is all because the politicians are being bought. There is no way that MLMs would be a thing if it
Oh,
wasn't
100%.
for corruption. There is no way that somebody just decided, yeah, this system where 90% of people make no money, they lose money over years and years, and three people make like $200,000 a year. Yeah, this sounds like it's completely working. It's like it's perfect, and it's like no, it's no, they're not that stupid in these institutions. They see these things for what they are, but I'm assuming people like in these MLMs, in these like gigantic corporations, they're like have relationships, they're I don't know, whatever it is that they do
Money.
behind the scenes to, because you can't tell me that a company like Amazon gets away with not paying tax in the like they don't I don't even know, I think I don't know the details of this, but there was like big news a few years ago that they weren't paying tax in like Ireland or like the UK. I don't, how are they coming there and not paying tax? And the only thing that makes sense in my brain is like somebody's been bought, somebody's been corrupted.
Well, and I'll be the devil's advocate for this. I agree that I think they should be taxed. However, I could argue, and someone could argue that, well, they're bringing jobs. So coming to a place, a town where, 20% are unemployed, now those 20% have a place to go and make money and live a life that's more stable and secure. So there is some value in having a place that's, hiring and being able to support your family on money. So I get that. However, I think it's what it comes down to then, well, the fair share part is they should have a higher percentage and cut into their profits a little bit more. But that's like profits king. And I think that's where it comes into with the politicians looking the other way or saying like, oh, it's fine. Because I can see it to a point. Like, yes, a company needs to have some, flexibility when it comes to having capital to be able to keep growing and whatever. But it's gotten to the point where it's so excessive that the CEOs of these companies cannot even spend the money on themselves that they have. And, Elon gets in trouble a lot because he talks about, his salary and his taxes through Twitter all the time. But there's even things with that when he's, paying a higher tax because he has to sell some of his stocks or whatever. It's like, I don't even know what my point is necessarily, other than it's gotten so to a level that's so ridiculous that it's hard to understand if it even makes sense anymore. Because yes, like a couple million, even 100 million, but we're talking about like billions and billions of dollars. And there's I forget the exact thing, but to put it in perspective, it's like if you were to make $1 million, if $1 million was in seconds, something like that, it'd be like, 2 days, and $1 billion in seconds would be like 30 years. Like just to see how different the span of $1 million versus $1 billion is. And these people that own these companies have like multi billions. I mean, they're saying like Apple's worth like $1 trillion. And there's people that are surviving on like $1 a day in the world. That's where I think it's like the extremity of it, the extremeness. It's like you're fighting over billions of dollars when people are literally dying from not having a dollar. And it's just so absurd. And I don't even know where to think. Like, I'm confused.
And you have a point that it is beneficial when people get jobs and they are able to support themselves and stuff. So, yeah, I understand that. But then why are small companies taxed? Why are small companies not given the same, the same benefit of not paying tax? If you're going to, like, want to incentivize business and, making money as a business, then incentivize them from the bottom up. Like you can't just like give Amazon a pass, but then if I want to start a website and sell, I suddenly will get taxed like 40% on everything, even though I barely made like $200. Like it's crazy.
Well, I think like we were talking about before about knowledge and being ignorant, I think in a way it's like maybe they don't want you to succeed, because if you do succeed, you're not going to be available to be a worker, a laborer, and they need labor to be able to fund and run the Amazon machine. So if you succeed and have all this money to now, say, F off, I'm going to go do my own thing. You're not available to work. You're not desperate to work. And I think they need a big amount of the population who is desperate to work and willing to work and needs to work, because otherwise, if everyone had free choice, no one's going to the Amazon factory. I'm sorry. No one's going there out of the fun of it. So people need to have some sort of reason to go into the doors. And I think part of it may be orchestrated subconsciously or consciously by needing to have people not succeed at other ventures so that they are forced into this type of work. That's my thought.
Agreed. Yeah. Should we watch this video? This last clip here, it's an interview with Anna.
Sure.
And it's interesting to see her talk herself.
Let me make sure that I have the audio. Stand by, everybody, and thank you for your questions, because they've been very good and interesting. I'm glad you're all enjoying this. Okay. So this is Anna Sorokin. That's her name. Sorokin? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think in Russia it's Sorokina, because
Sorokina.
you have to do the I don't know how to explain it.
Sorokina.
Anyway, if you're female, you add an A at the end.
Gotcha.
Because you're your dad's, you're not your own, you're property of the father. Sorokin would be the father. By adding the A at the end, it shows that you are property of. It's just, how much time do we have? Because
well, we're on our own schedule because this is a live stream that we control, so we can go as much as possible. If you want to break down the Russian language for us, we have unlimited amount of time.
No, I couldn't if I tried.
I know nothing, so I'm glad that you do. Okay, so she's talking about life after Rikers. Rikers is the jail in New York City. It's an island where most people who commit any sort of crime in New York end up going before or sort of during their trial period. It's not prison, Rikers. It's just jail, I believe. So she didn't spend her sentence at Rikers. She was in Rikers before her sentencing, if that makes sense. She was arrested, went to Rikers, got sentenced, went to a prison facility.
Yeah.
The very first question that the parole board asked, and it did definitely follow me around quite a bit. Looking back at it now, as I said, almost 3 years later, I don't endorse or any of the ways that I chose to resort to while going about what I've done, and I'm not proud of anything. And I like to think that my intentions were not fraudulent. If you look at fraud by its legal definition, to permanently deprive somebody of the funds or property. But in the end, it's not my intention that counted, but how it was perceived and how it affected people. And in that way, I'm totally guilty, in the way of my story has been perceived and what's been done out of it. But it was actually the very first question.
So what she's saying is that she's not saying exactly that she's not sorry. Oh, Cam's gone. I guess Cam is going to be learning. Oh, she's back. Okay. Were you reading about Russian language for a moment?
Sorry about that. That is insane.
So, and the caption says, so I love Instagram, and I laughed. I don't know why. I thought that was so funny. But you can see over here what the location, it's tagged at the Orange County Correctional Facility. You can tag the location of the jail. It's okay. Why? But all right. And it's between Emily Palmer, who's a reporter, and then Anna Delvey. Oh, what the heck? Is it gone? No way.
Did we get an exclusive?
It's back. It's just my internet, apparently. So let me read the description because it kind of explains what she was saying. So Emily says, years after Anna Sorokin told me she was not sorry for the financial crime she was convicted of under another name, the Anna Delvey, I phoned the fake heiress at her correctional facility in Goshen, New York, to ask her the same questions again. I first met Anna during her Manhattan trial in 2019, and I wrote a story from our jailhouse interview that went viral, teeing up the first question at her parole board hearing in October 2020. but a lot has changed in the 3 years since that first interview. And over the past week, we spent a lot of time catching up and a lot of money too. 21 phone calls, a slew of text messages, and $191.30 later, my Q&A for New York Times Styles is out now. I was just gonna say, the first comment is, that isn't that much money. I'm like, yeah, I agree. A lot of money, especially when you're talking about someone who, was a alleged, well, I guess convicted fraudster for hundreds of thousands of dollars. For her saying like, oh, we spent a lot of money, $191 seems kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah.
So what did you take from what she said in the video?
So first of all, great reporting on Emily Palmer going back and asking again. That's some excellent follow through, because it's like, it's funny. Like it's an important, at least in some of the things that I've done, I found it's not only it's good to do that, but necessary. But, so I appreciate that she went back and asked the same question.
I agree.
Because it can give you perspective. Sometime in jail I imagine, I have never been to jail, but I imagine that it might give you some time to think.
It's called a correctional facility for a reason, I suppose.
Yeah. Should we let's not talk about that. That's another topic that's going to take another 3 hours.
We'll talk about prison reform on another episode of Cringe-Fluencers.
Subscribe.
We should, though, one day, let us know in the comments, we should talk about jail talk, because you're on TikTok a lot, right? Do you ever get jail talk?
Oh, I don't know if it's what you're referring to, but I definitely got some videos, not on TikTok, on YouTube though. Some recommended, like, somebody being like, I'm out of prison and this is my experience. Stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
Well, maybe, but there's like a whole genre of TikTok where they're in jail or in prison and they show like them in the cell. They show them like doing, eating dinner. It's like, how do these people have phones? But it's like a weird subgenre of TikTok. Oh my God, this person on this comment. Ban. Okay, sorry. So going back, what do you think about what she said?
Yeah, I mean, I think she sounds very guarded, but yeah, she knows that everyone's looking. So
to me, it sounded like she was saying what we said, that the way the law is written, which is, obviously laws are very specifically written. It was, did she meet the threshold of permanently taking someone's property or money away from them in which their lives be affected negatively? And it's almost her saying like, well, I didn't take a house from a person who only owns a house in their life. I took money away from them, from people who had additional funds, and also it wasn't to defraud them, it was to start a business to eventually pay them back. Her intention was to pay them back. Now, whether she could or not, who knows, but she intended to, so therefore she shouldn't be blamed.
There's a speech in the last episode from the lawyer guy who says that the actual people who are at fault are those bankers who are like, why are they approving loans that they know that person can, without having verified and stuff like that? And they do that probably for the same reasons we were talking about before, because like whatever it is, like you have a loan and you're gonna have to pay it back, and you're gonna have to pay it back with interest, and it's in their literal interest to loan people money. Like if people stop borrowing money, they don't have a business. That's like they don't have a bank.
Yeah,
they rely on people needing money for whatever reason it is. That's why when you see like the country, like for example, like when we had the crash in 2008, it was hard to get a loan, but then before that it was insanely easy. Like you just get a loan with literally no proof and whatever, and then the crash happened, and that's when they started to introduce more, I don't know, obviously this is different from country to country, but they started to introduce more reform in that after the crash.
Oh yeah, so, same. But also, who is held responsible? Who went to prison for that? Nobody. Not one banker, not one person that was in power that approved these loans. They were bailed out, which I think they probably should have been, because I don't think our economy as a country should, suffer for 50 years because of, the mistakes of people in power. But I also think that someone should have paid for that by having a consequence of some sort. Like 90% of the people that were responsible, 99%, all of them, I'm pretty sure nothing ever happened to them. They continued on. They got to work at other companies. They just went along with their lives. They kept their wealth and they grew it from there. So how is that fair? Like, you know, at least Anna went to prison and served her time, served her sentence,
Yeah.
you know, and less people were affected than, you know, during the crash of 2008.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, not really many people were affected at all. It's kind of like there wasn't really much of a victim aside from stress. Okay, so Rachel was stressed, but um and I'm sure other people knowing Anna also probably just had a bit of a shock to the system, like finding out all these things. But
But
like,
also,
how
as
much
Rachel
does
Hollis
it
would say,
impact their life? But also Rachel got a book and she's famous now for it, and but also like all these people now have a great story to tell around the dinner table for the rest of their life. um
yeah. But
so
also, what is the responsibility of a person to do background into who you're associating with? For me, as if with any person that goes, you know, on dates on Tinder or whatever, I'm assuming you're Googling these people. You're probably trying to figure out something about them so you know if you're safe or not, if the person is a convicted murderer and you're going on a date with them. Like, there's some responsibility, and I'm not saying it's like to be blamed, like, oh, you didn't look into it deep enough. But if you're going to be offering someone millions of dollars, or you're taking them at their word because they have designer clothing on, like, isn't some of the responsibility onto you to do your due diligence a little bit sooner? You know, and one of the scenes I remember, the guy who was trying to get her the money, the one that worked at or played racquetball at the courts and had the special court because he was so loved or whatever. So
he lost it. Had to
he
walk,
lost
like,
his court.
12 steps.
He
Oh
had to
my
go
God,
to the fourth
the
court.
humiliation. Oh,
He
no
deserves
way.
retribution. You know, like, he put on the form, yes, this person has the money, whatever. And that was a big deal, I guess, because that's what propelled the loan process forward. Isn't that his fault? Like, he could say he's a victim because she tricked him. She lied
Oh
to him.
no, that
Yes.
is completely his fault. If this was not like someone high up, if this was like someone lower up, or maybe like a new hire, they would have been fired in no time. This is like, how do you approve loans when you're not going through the right channels and stuff? This isn't just some.
That's your
Like,
literal
again,
job. Your literal
yeah.
job is that.
And I think it kind of exposes just how shallow these things actually are, like, because it is after, like, you think of it, oh my God, it's like a big institution, it's a big whatever, but then actually it's a person that has to tick a box, and it's like, you know, it exposes that. And how many people don't get mortgages because that person doesn't tick the box for them?
Well, half the
You know,
time,
and
too, now with technology, this is a whole other conversation as well, but with technology, they're built almost to discriminate against certain things without even being a person who's doing that. It's a computer system that was programmed to, like, for example, for resumes, you know, it has to have certain words in the resume to even be looked at. But how do you know that the people they're more qualified, but they didn't get into the system the correct way? They're never going to be looked at in a million years. I'm sure the same thing happens with loan applications. If they don't hit a certain word on there or a certain price tag, not even a human being is looking at it anymore. So you're like discriminated against with technology.
yeah, and technology is like I don't think technology has its place everywhere. I feel like it's been kind of pushed a little too far sometimes, but especially with stuff like that, where you need like you need a human to look over a CV, and it's kind of scary to think that actually they're not even looking. You know, like, we were always told in, like, whenever I would be in, what are they called, like those schemes or whatever, just trying to get into the TV industry, like way back when. And we were always told stuff like, oh, an interviewer only spends like 10 seconds on your CV. So if you don't catch their attention in those 10 seconds, then you've lost them. It's like, oh, wait, they're not even spending those 10 seconds now.
They're not even getting
Actually,
it.
it's just an AI system that's rejected me. Like, what?
And there's a whole debate too about, because the way that the programming industry is, computer programming, and they don't know whose fault it is, I guess, I suppose, but it's like very highly white males who
yeah.
are in the industry, and so without even meaning to, they could be programming bias into these systems without even like doing it on purpose. They're doing it just because their life view is different than many other people's life views. They
Yep.
program it a certain way so that one of the things I was watching, it was some documentary, it was really, really good. It was about personality tests in the workplace, and it really opened my eyes, because a lot of these places now, part of your application comes with a personality test, and they make it seem like very innocent. They just want to get to know you, but there's certain things built into that to tell like what type of, if you're like a lower class person or if you're a higher class person, and it will automatically red flag you and you're off if you hit certain things. So now there's classes that you can go to learn how to lie on those forms so that you're not deleted automatically. And it's like stuff like, I forget the documentary, but it was called like The Dark Side of Personality Tests or something. It was on Netflix, I believe. But for example, it was like, if a client says, "Have a good day," do you say "you too," "thank you," or "you're welcome," or something like that? And it's like, it seems like it's a choice, but apparently somewhere in there it means that if you say "you're welcome," it means you're lower class, and so that they don't want you working at Starbucks as a barista if you're lower class. I don't know. You got to see the documentary, but it was really interesting.
Gosh, I saw a video by Rachel Oates actually on personality tests, and she was talking about these things. But yeah, no, I find that to be like just a little bit meta. Like it's never happened to me. I've never experienced an interview where they would ask me about that, but I feel like I would fail immediately.
Yeah.
I am convinced had they asked my Myers-Briggs test, they would not hire me for sure.
It's like, are you supposed to be honest, or are you supposed to think what they want you to say? That's where I always come back to, like,
And
what
that's
do I-
also ridiculously stupid too, because like you're not focusing on getting the right person for the job. You're focusing on checking boxes for a personality test. Like that's
Well, they can argue, well, it's a culture fit. We're a culture of people who love saying thank you. We're not a culture of people who say you're welcome. It's like, okay, what does that even mean? That's just a way to say, like, we can discriminate against you because you don't fit in here, without saying that.
yeah.
It's complicated.
Wow. That's it's insane that that's actually happening.
Yeah. And I'm fine with, you take as many personality tests as you want. Not you, but anybody, take them. I don't care. I don't really believe in them, but, take them, feel whatever you want to feel about it. But if it comes to work and employment, and that's a requirement that you take an exam about your personality, that's where I start to go, that's unfair and confusing and not something that I support at all.
And the thing is, I feel like it's completely flawed too, because then you can really easily just trick it. Because
Totally.
yeah, of course, I'm gonna say what they want to hear. If I know this is not something I knew, but like now, for example, yeah, sure, I'm gonna just copy paste the job description into my CV.
Yeah.
It's going to match all the words.
Well, there's debate. I saw someone on TikTok said you should do that, but put it in white letters, like white font, so it's invisible. So it looks like it got pulled for some other reason. But it's
Yeah.
like, does that make me a better candidate, or does that make me sneakier?
That just makes us all like hackers and fraudsters.
Yeah.
Quite literally. But like if you need to be a fraudster and a hacker in order to get an interview, what kind of fucking sorry, I'm swearing again.
You're fine.
What kind of society is that where you have to just like literally hack your way into interviews now? Because they're not looking like at humans, they're looking at robots.
The thing is, it's like if we didn't need jobs to survive, we didn't, at least in the United States, you need a job to have, or a full-time job to have health insurance. I mean, I work, but I don't have health insurance because I work for myself. But, you need jobs to survive. And the fact that the threshold is harder and harder, I feel like these days, to get hired anywhere, it's like you're taking away a potential person's life by not hiring them, for a position. So it's not like the stakes are just like, oh, well, this is a job that, would be nice, but who cares? It's like, no, people need to have this to support their children, to support themselves.
Yeah.
It's a very serious thing. So when it comes to employment, like, I don't think that, like, willy-nilly tests should be included ever.
No, and the thing is, this reminds me of something I just talked about on TikTok, maybe like a week ago or something, because millennial women, and they've done studies, and they obviously realize, well, we all know that millennial women just don't want to have children, or not, like, compared to previous generations, we have had very few children as a generation. Not me personally, but I've not had any children, so I guess the statistic. So they were this girl was saying that apparently there's been some studies done that show that the happiest people in society are unmarried women without children. And this other girl stitched it, and she was like, why are we pushed to get married and have children if the happiest people in society are unmarried women without children? And that's the reason why, because they need these workers. And if you have a generation like ours that doesn't want to have children because we can't get a job and we can't support ourselves, let alone imagine supporting another person, not to mention just the complicated dating game that we're in, where you don't know if you even have someone to support your child with you.
Yeah.
And we're gonna choose not to have children. And if I can't get past an interview because of AI, if I can't get past it because of Myers-Briggs, I can't get a job that will allow me to feel comfortable enough to be like, okay, I can support myself and the child, then I'm clearly never gonna make the choice to have a child. So then they become the these countries will suffer in the long term, will suffer severely, because their labor force will be very small. Like, when it comes to our lack of kids, when this generation needs to like work and support the older generations and pay their taxes and stuff, and then you realize you have a third of the population because we didn't have kids, well, then you're gonna see. And so I don't think that these people in charge are looking at these things much. It's like, you can reject people from jobs and stuff, but don't complain when they're not going to have kids and you're not going to have a labor force in 20 years.
Well, I agree. I think they, at least in the United States, and probably in Europe as well, certain places, they're looking at it from the other perspective, where it's like force them to have children by means of not being pro-choice, like not giving women a choice to choose if they get pregnant what to do. And I think that kind of is like their solution, where it's like force people to have it, and then they'll have to figure it out. And in that case, people who have, like, a single mother, for example, is one of the most desperate people that needs to have a job. So they'll take any job. So they'll take a job at a factory or take a job at, whatever warehouse, because they have another person that's depending on them for that work to be done. And then when that kid becomes 15, 14, they can go and work at Wendy's, And I think politicians see it in those ways, lowering the standard for child labor laws, because that's been something since the Great Resignation has happened. Instead of like giving people more rights at work, they're like, we'll just lower the age of the threshold for people to work at these restaurants. It's like, oh great, before it was 16, now it's 14. That's really going to solve our labor shortage. Like, children who are in high school, like, wonderful. Or, like right now, I don't even know the results of it or what stage it's at, but there was a big Supreme Court case about, women's right to choose. And basically, if it goes into the direction of, the state is allowed to ban it, Texas, or no, I think the one that's in the Supreme Court's not Texas, but like Texas banned it. So if you're 6 weeks or more, you have to have the child. There's no choice unless you go to a different state, which is out of reach for a lot of women. Basically, it's like they're forcing you to have the child and then forcing you into that cycle of, well, we're going to repopulate the younger generation by force, as opposed to making it more desirable for people to want to have their children. Because I also don't have children. I'm 30. It's kind of the time, to start thinking about that. And I'm terrified because I am not secure. I don't have, like I said, I don't have health care. So I'm really forced then to get into a relationship, with I'm engaged, but like I have no choice other than to get married. I can't do it on my own if I did want to, given this scenario. And that's something that I also was told my whole life was bad. Like, oh, you have to be independent. You have to do this and that. So I'm trying, but it's not easy.
No, and the thing is with this this forcing women to have children and stuff, this is going to really come back and bite them in the ass if they do it. But this is only one way that they're approaching it, and it's not just Texas. It was also like Ireland, and there's still like Western countries that are developed that still in which abortion is still illegal. And but that's one way, but then they have other ways that are almost even more, I can't say that, but like they're positive. So they'll be like, you get a child, what's it called, like
Tax
like
credit?
fee. They get money in some countries. They get like a weekly check for the child, and that incentivizes people to have like 4 children, because then they don't need to necessarily get a job because they have the income or whatever, or enough money, or stuff like that. And that's why you'll see people who are in lower economic status who would have a lot of kids, because that's the way that the state incentivizes people to have children, in by paying literally money into
For them to do it.
that. But the money is not like a lot. It's not like, that's not all it takes in order to raise a child, I mean, yeah, but it's the absolute minimum.
Oh, I agree, 100%. And I think, that's why a lot of kids end up, becoming adults that have issues because of their parents. I mean, that's kind of like the typical thing in therapy. It's like, well, how is your relationship with your parents? But that's what it comes down to, because that's your formative years. So if your relationship's great and wonderful, you have a better chance to come out the other side and wanting to, succeed in life, versus if you're abused, it's going to be a lot harder to fight through that and make it. But I don't think that, I mean, in this country at least, we're not seen as people a lot of times. We're seen as taxpayers and consumers, and that's the non-humane titles that we're given a lot of times when we're spoken about at all. And it's like, if you forget, like, oh, I'm just a human being that wants, all the same things that everyone else wants. We all want the same things. We want to be happy. We want to be secure. We want to have, exciting things happen to us, or, less bad things at the very least happen to us. And that can be seen across the board. Every single person wants the same things, but it's almost like you have to forget that, because it's like, well, low-wage worker, that's what you become. And then you have different rights almost. Like, well, low-wage workers, they deserve it almost. And that's the thing, too, that's said a lot in this country. Is like, well, you shouldn't work at McDonald's. If you want to make money, get a real job. It's like, but then, okay, so who's supposed to work at McDonald's then? If everyone's supposed to find a real job, who's going to be supporting these, millions of restaurants? Why can't every job be considered not a good job, but a job worth working for, and a job that can at least let them live at some level comfortably? You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to live in luxury, but at least, like, why does someone that works at McDonald's full-time or part-time have to not feel secure that they can live comfortably ever? But that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I think there's some experiments being done with like universal income and stuff in some countries. I think I heard in the news in the UK they're trying something for kids who are out of the care system for like a few years they're gonna give them a universal income. So it's just to kind of experiment and see how they develop, if that helps them, if that makes them lazy, because like lots of people make that argument that you suddenly become lazy if you have money. I don't.
It
Okay.
just gives you
And
choice. You're not desperate. I think
yeah.
that's the difference.
So I am kind of hopeful, but I also think this is coming from the fact, and it's good but it's coming from the fact that they have tried all these like negative ways, like they have tried to just force people to do this and that, and they've noticed, I think they're starting to notice at least, that it's not really worked as well as they thought.
You can't do that with social media because people have so much access to alternative opinions that, it's hard to put people in the dark as much as you could before.
Yeah. And it's I think it's just more interesting to see these studies done, and I feel like it does give me some hope, but I feel like changes are like so slow. Like
Totally.
so slow, if they
Yeah.
even happen at all. And
Yeah.
I think this is to kind of come back to like the topic at hand. This is why I personally don't necessarily see that much of a problem with what Anna has done. Obviously I'm not a person of the law, and I'm not like in charge of like deciding whether she's guilty or not. But in my opinion, this system is fucked up in so many ways that like you, as a person who wants to just kind of find a way and thrive, you do need to find the cheat code. Like and I think that's what she tried a cheat code, and she was caught. But if she wasn't, how many Anna Delveys exist that were not caught?
Well, Dean Graziosi is one, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. There's
In a different
probably
form, but yeah.
there's probably so many people who do this exact same thing, maybe like 1,000 times worse, and they don't get caught.
Well, bringing up the self-help scammers thing, or the want to be a millionaire scammers. If you were to say, become a millionaire, I'm going to teach you how to become a millionaire, and you're not a millionaire yet, isn't that fraud in some way? Like, can't you be held accountable because you misled people to believe that you had some insider knowledge?
That should technically be false advertising.
Yeah. But I guess people say, like, well, I didn't actually say I was a millionaire. I just said I could teach you how to be a millionaire. So it's like,
or they will not even be looked at, because false advertising mostly applies to like companies. And I think more recently they're starting to look at influencers too, and whatever. But this is really brand new, and I don't know how they can get that. Well, that's not my job, so I'm not come up with solutions for them. But like, you know what I mean? I think this is, Dean Graziosi might not be able to get away with that now, or hopefully, let's say in 5 years. Let's just be hopeful.
Yeah, I think the sucky part about it is that like he got away with it younger and in a different time frame where he was doing like infomercials on TV more. So he's already built his wealth by selling the course. So now he's got that, like I said, the infusion of capital. So now he can just grow it. Once you get that first big sum, you usually can keep it growing, and by investing or by getting involved with other people and whatnot. I mean, like a Tom Bilyeu, for example, is another one. Like he probably will never have another issue with money, even if every single one of his projects fail, which I predict will. He probably will be fine because he's got property, he's got investments, he'll be fine for the day he dies, and his kids will be fine if they ever have kids. But it doesn't make him a better person or necessarily a better businessman or anything. He could fail a million times from now, but he got really a good situation when he left his first company. I guess that's where it all comes down to. It's like we judge people, and I'm definitely someone who judges people, so don't get me wrong that I'm like above judgment of people, but we judge people for all types of reasons. Like if they're good business people, if they're nice, if they're funny, if they're good looking, we judge all different things. But I feel like when it comes to people with wealth, if you're wealthy, you're almost at the top of every list. Like, well, they're a good person. They must be a good person because they've succeeded monetarily. And I find myself doing that too. It's like they're really mean, they're ugly, they're horrible to people, they're this and that, but they are rich, so I guess it's okay. I find myself doing, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I saying here? It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because like you almost disregard rich people. It's almost like they're rich. We're not worried about them. We don't necessarily care, but like not in a way that we do care in the sense that we're looking up to them. But the reality is that the vast majority of them didn't do anything for what they have.
Yeah.
And I would argue that probably people who are poor work extremely hard in comparison. And but it's just, it's like I think there's a disconnect
Yeah.
between the vast majority, not even just poor people, like also middle class people and the rich, because like you can't, you know what I mean, you don't know how they live, so you're just like, it's kind of almost above me at least. How I don't know how to judge them because I don't know what they do and how they do it, you know. I feel like when it comes to like people like on my level or similar, I can totally judge because like we kind of share a code or somewhat of a moral code. But I feel like with people like way above monetarily, like I don't know what sort of moral code they might have at all, like, or not even just moral, but in every single way.
I guess this is kind of ironic coming from me, but you know, it's like I think when someone has a certain amount of wealth, it's like they become an authority figure. They become an authority on life, like a life coach that's got $1 million. It's like, what do you know about life? You might know how to make $1 million, which is very helpful and useful. However, what do you know about being a good person or a kind person? But you see these people coming out with these like self-help books as soon as they make some money. And it's like, what do you, like, again, like, not to bring her up constantly, but like a Rachel Hollis, like, what do you actually know? Like, yes, you were successful at business somewhat for a short period of time. What do you know about life that you could give anyone advice that's going to be helpful to them, you know?
I think it's because it comes with like, I think money comes with the assumption that that person made it. So if they made it and they managed to solve this problem that we all try to solve on a daily basis and sometimes struggle for until we die with that problem, but they managed to solve that problem. How did they do it? They must know something that we don't, and they probably do. So but it's not necessarily that they know some cheat code. Most times I would argue that Anna knows a lot more than the vast majority of people who just came from wealth, who just inherited it. They don't know anything. They just got the money from someone else. And I don't like it. They probably do know some things and they know how to survive in that society that they are in already.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily something they worked to learn. They were in that society in the first place. So yeah, okay, you learned, you adapted as anyone adapts their circumstances. You adapted to the circumstances of wealth that you were in. So
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a cognitive thing that you would be able to translate into words, into knowledge for others. But it does come with that assumption. You think they must know something I don't, and you're right, but they may still not be able to tell you what that is. They may still not be able to translate that into like, here's what you should do. You know what I mean?
And not even like can't, but won't, because a lot of people leave out the big elephant in the room. Well, how did you get started? It's almost like the beginning chapter is like, I was poor. And then the next chapter is, so I started my first company. It's like, wait, what happened in between there? There was a lot of difference between I did a video a while back on this guy who spoke in The Secret. His name's Dr. Joe Vitale. However, doctor, I think, is a very false label because he went to online doctor school. Anyways, out of Sedona, Arizona.
I love
uncredited.
those.
Yeah, so, just take it for what it's worth. But he's got a thing where, what was I talking about? Oh my God, what was the point of that? What did you just say? A minute ago.
Well,
I was going to talk about Joe Vitale and something he said.
just
but then-
how you said that they don't want to share the knowledge that they have, even if they have it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, exactly. Thank you. So he's got a thing where he tells his story. He's like, I was homeless on the streets of Dallas, and then I became a best-selling author.
Yeah. Okay. Tony
How?
Robbins. Much.
Yeah, like did you go to the library and write? Like what did there's no details other than I used to be homeless and now I'm a millionaire. It's like, okay, the whole point and he's like, well, you can book time with me for his hourly rate is like $5,000 an hour. You can like learn about him. It's like, okay, cool. Great.
And this is actually interesting that it's making me think of a point. It's making me think of the fact that maybe this is why motivational speakers have become so successful, because they are the only ones who would be willing, and it's made up most of the times, but people didn't know it. And they're the only ones willing to say, oh, this is how I've done it. And they came up with this like bullshit kind of rule book, like you always have money in your wallet even if you're super poor. You need to see money in order to, you know what I mean? Like they came up with these like law of attraction and bullshit like that. And I'm starting to think that perhaps what you just said there is the reason why they got successful, because like nobody else really tells people how to make money. And these guys were like, I'm gonna tell you, and I've done it. And
They don't actually though. They'll tell you.
they
will,
don't.
but
It's
they
a
don't.
made up. It's made up in order to sell you something. But
Yeah.
that's I'm assuming it's why they got that boost. I think it's no longer what it was, but the self-help industry, I mean. But I'm assuming that's why it had such a boom, because nobody else was like, Elon Musk is not going to tell you how to make money.
Yeah, well, I think Elon, comes from a South African like diamond family, so that's kind of how he started. It's like, okay, yeah. And the thing too is like, I don't know where I saw it, but something I truly believe in is like it's exhausting to be poor. It takes a lot of effort. And, oh my God, this freaking person! I'm so sorry, banning this person again. This like clothing brand or whatever. It takes a lot of effort to be poor because it's stressful, because you're always worried about where your money's going to come from. You have to work these like low wage jobs because you're young or whatever, and it's like usually if you're a waitress, you're on your feet, you're doing manual labor half the time. So you get home from work and you're tired. So yes, technically you could hustle. You could Gary V yourself by starting a company on the side and watching it grow while you work really hard. But isn't it much easier and much more likely that someone who wakes up at 11 a.m., gets out of bed, has an avocado toast, has some coffee, calls daddy, says, hey, can I get some money? He says, yes, I got all day. I can go to a retreat in Bali to think about my business plans. Isn't it more likely that that person is going to have the chance to you have the cash infusion right there? You don't have to get capital from everywhere, and you have more time to think about it, to network, to take risks. Like that's all big factors when it comes to these things, and those things are not discussed. It's like, oh, personal mindset. It's like, no, it's how much time you have to devote to your mindset too. It's like,
yeah, and this is something I've heard some discourse on more recently, because everyone, the famous, you have the same 24 hours in a day as Oprah. It's like, well, no, not really, because Oprah has people like paying her bills. Oprah has people like doing her laundry, has people cleaning her house, has people cooking for her.
Yeah.
She's got drivers. You have to do all those 10, 20 jobs a day yourself. And sorry, if that's not time, then what is? Because
well, that's why people were pissed off at Rachel Hollis originally back in the day. And it reminds me of a video, and I don't hate to because I think it's always exciting, but it reminds me of a Rachel Hollis video where she talks about she uses Beyonce. We all have the same time as Beyonce, whatever. But a lot of people got pissed off at her at this specific thing because she had a nanny and she never said that. So she's telling women, we all have the same amount of time in the day as Beyonce. And then in reality,
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and she's omitting on purpose, so it looks like she's, some badass boss babe that, yes, obviously if you have your children taken care of 90% of the day, that's going to free you up to have business ideas, to have business lunches, to go into networking events or whatever. And that is how business gets done. But if you're saying like, oh, just don't sleep or something, it's like, that's not how because it's not what you're doing. You can easily say like, well, don't sleep then. It's like, yeah, but I can't function if I'm not sleeping at night. No one can. Or like, oh, eat McDonald's every day. It's like, well, are you going to be healthy if you eat a hamburger every day, once a day, as opposed to eating like a well-balanced meal? Like, it's not fair for someone to give advice that they're not doing because they're not actually even living it to see if it works.
Yeah.
So, you want to watch it? I think this is the one.
Yes.
I'm almost positive. Okay. Where she says basically what you just said.
You tell me you don't have the time, I'm gonna call bullcrap. I'm gonna call bullcrap on you all year long. That's what 2017 is about, because here's the thing, you guys. It is not about choosing what you want right now. It is about choosing what you want most.
Other people don't get to tell you what you can have. Someone else doesn't get to tell you who you can be. That's on you.
Go all in. Take massive action immediately. Not on Monday, not at the new year, not next month. Right now, today, take massive action to get you to your goal. Anything you want for yourself, you have to do yourself. And the first step to getting there is that we're not gonna have a dream, we're gonna have a plan. Listen to me. Nobody is ever going to care about your dreams as much as you do, no matter what they are. Nobody. I believe deeply that you are capable of anything you set your mind to, but you got to set your mind to it and go all in. So you need to start with your goal and reverse engineer from there, and not give up when it gets hard or when it's taking too long, because that is part of life. There are days that are going to be hard, but don't encourage the hard stuff. Don't encourage the suckiness by surrounding yourself with affirmations of giving up. You are stronger than you have become. You can do more than you think you can do. You are capable of whatever you set your mind to. Plan your life accordingly.
Sometimes you just have to sit in the hard space. Sometimes you just have to live in the tension. In fact, I think that's
Yeah,
the
but
only way
Rachel-
to actually get stronger.
This isn't the one I thought it was. At first, I think the first clip is the one I thought it was when she's like, everyone has time.
Rachel says stuff like that, like you have to sit and don't give up when it's uncomfortable. But people don't give up because it's uncomfortable. People give up because they can no longer afford to feed their families. People
Exactly.
they're not just like, sit in the uncomfortable space. It's not about sitting in the uncomfortable space. It's about the fact that you are just unable to feed your family if you just start a business and it takes like 10 years to build up.
Yeah.
It's easy for her to say that when she had a husband that brought all the money and she didn't have to worry about that. Yeah, sure. But
Yeah.
tell people that. Just say that. Marry a rich guy like I did, and then you can think about your business all day. Why don't you say the truth?
Because it takes away from her being a successful self-starter that she wants to be perceived as. And that's the true, rags to riches story all on my own. But there's literally like one rags to riches story, and it's like from the 40s. Like rags to riches doesn't exist anymore. It's very, very, very rare. It's almost impossible to do that on your own without support from someone else. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm sure that these cases still exist, but they don't market themselves as like, look at me, how I made it from being super poor, and then they don't try to sell you $2,000 courses and stuff like that. So you don't even know about those people.
yeah.
They don't try to push themselves because they're probably busy doing what it is that they built, And this is the difference, because these motivational speakers, their job it's not what they say their job is. Like
Yeah.
Rachel Hollis's job is not to lead Hollis Co. Rachel Hollis's job was to be an influencer and just like we even saw it last time with the leadership thing where they knew nothing about, like they say the
know.
job is one, but they're not doing that job that they say they're doing. So motivational speakers are like, I have like so many businesses and I'm doing this and that. No, what you're doing is like talking on the stage. That's your job.
Yeah.
You're selling, you're a salesman, you're selling people these courses. That's your job. You're not the, and I mean, I'm sure that you'll probably gamble, or you probably gamble, like as in like invest or whatever. Yeah, sure. But that's not the job that you have. Your job is to be here on the stage and sell these people this course. That's the job.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the real people who are rags to riches, is that they are doing their job. They're not like on social media. Well, maybe some of them are, but like the vast majority of them, we will not know that they even exist, because they're not like they're not marketing themselves like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a marketing thing, and like if you're selling a car, or for example, like if you had to sell a car, that's how you make money. You're gonna talk about how amazing the car is and how great it drives. I drive this car; it's the best car I've ever driven. It's amazing. It has all these features. Blah 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 blah. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. That's your job to sell the car. They're selling themselves. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's
Yeah.
like, well, you know, these women, usually in this case, you know, with Rachel Hollis, like women want to be the best moms and also, you know, follow their dreams and also have a hot husband who wants to make out with them every night. Like that's the dream of everybody. So she's got to sell the dream that she has accomplished, allegedly, even though it's bullshit. And it's just so, I mean, it's scummy to me. I just think the whole industry's scummy.
Yeah, it is.
And it's to think about, okay, who's the target audience of buying a car? Well, people who want to buy a car, right? So if you know someone wants to buy a car, you have advantage over them because you know that they want the thing that you have. And unfortunately with self-help, the people who you're targeting are vulnerable people, usually have gone through some sort of tragedy or in a place in their life where they feel stuck, they feel unloved, they feel unwanted, they feel like they need more, and that's who they're going to go after. And to me, that's like the most despicable thing, because those are the types of people that need to be helped without being charged money for it. They need to be helped somehow by close family members or go to therapy, which I know costs money, but at least therapy is you talking about yourself, not someone talking about themselves to you, which gives you no benefit. So
Yeah, and it's a so much worse than the Anna Delvey scam. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, the people that Anna Delvey scammed, they didn't feel shit. Like, in terms of like this didn't impact they weren't in a position to like not be able to pay their rent, or maybe Rachel briefly felt like she was in that position, but then Amex removed the charges. So you know, like none of these people were in a position to be like, I can't feed my children. But if you buy into the Rachel Hollis bullshit and then you sell your couch to go to her conference, you might not have money to like feed your children that month. Like,
the fact that they're willing to take money from someone like that, like if it was me and I'm, you know, I could consider myself a business person. I own a business. I have an LLC. Like I do the traditional businessy things. If someone was trying to buy a product from me and told me I'm going to sell my couch to have you do this video, I would say no. Please don't do that. This is not, you know, it's not cheap necessarily, you know, it's not like $5. Like, come back in a couple years and we can talk again. Like, I hope that I would have the ethics if I knew like what their situation was, that I would absolutely turn them away and say, okay, no, don't do this.
Yeah.
You know,
or if it is what it was for that person, because this was a Marie Forleo conference, just give them a free ticket.
Yeah, if it
It's
matters
not.
that
This
much.
is not something you're doing. Yeah, you're already having, I don't know how many hundreds of people there. You could give that person a free ticket. But not only this. Here's the thing. She didn't just this didn't just happen, but she put it in the book. Like, so she, years after that, wrote a book and she put this story in the book. So not only did she do this, did she take money from a person who literally had to sell her couch to go to that conference, but also she's encouraging people to do the same. She's like, if you, because the underlying message is, if you are in a similar situation, you too should sell your couch, or you too should sell whatever it is that you can sell to be able to come. Because look, this person did it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I don't even know if this story is true. I tend to believe most of the stories that most of these people tell are fake. And unless that person comes forward and says, that was me, and they're a testimonial person, like, I doubt they even exist. And I think that they only want to tell a story like that is because it shows that any level of desperation is welcome here and could benefit. Like, you are so poor that you are selling furniture to show up. Perfect. This is the perfect place for you. And to show like the level of, you know, what type of person they're trying to attract. is that type of person in complete desperation. So, and this is off topic a little bit, but do you know who Teal Swan is? Did we talk about that already? The self-help
No.
person. She's kind of on the extreme end of self-help, I would say. She's more the spiritual guru style. But she, in her YouTube, she puts tags like in the keywords specifically, like I want to not alive myself, like unalive myself, so that when people search that, her video pops up. And she's very pro. There's a whole bunch of stuff we could talk about her, but she is like pretty supportive of not unaliving yourself in a weird way. And she's specific, and she talks about it like, I market myself as someone who desperate people go to. And she has retreats and workshops like all the other ones do, thousands of dollars. So you're knowingly targeting people who are typing that into Google and wanting advice. Or she even said, when desperate people get online, they don't search the way that you think you and I would search, talking to a reporter. You don't do full phrases. You might write like, my sister just died, I don't know what to do. So she'll put that in her keywords. So if someone searches that, that's what pops up, and now they're in the indoctrination cycle of her content. But she's knowingly doing that, targeting the lowest level of desperate people who are going through a hardship, trauma, and then pushing them into her sales funnel. To me, that's just disgusting. I cannot say enough horrible things about that and how bad and uncool that is.
Yeah, and it's not just her, Rachel
Totally.
Hollis, Marie Forleo, all of them, Tony Robbins, all of them target people who are in desperate situations. You can see it even in their documentaries, because you can see people who, get up and they tell their story or something. They don't share all of them, obviously, in those films, but like when they
Sure.
do, you can see, like even in the Tony Robbins documentary, there was a guy who wanted to unalive himself, and he was there. And Tony came out as such a hero for like snapping him out of that state. But like, was that temporary, or how
He
do you
has
know
no
that?
place. He's not a mental health counselor. He shouldn't be giving
No.
anyone advice in that situation. And I
Yeah.
remember he was like, "Oh, you have red shoes. Oh, great,
Yeah.
cool. What a great moment. Thanks, Tony. Like, you've really
Yeah, but
solved."
2 days later,
Yeah.
what exactly is that going to help him in 2 days when Tony's not there to crack a joke? Like, how exactly is he? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
maybe in the moment, sure, maybe that was helpful for him. Maybe let's hope that this was helpful for him for more than just a day or two, and maybe like it snapped him out of it. Like that's the best
Hopefully.
case scenario. But at the same time, that's not, Tony didn't provide him a coping mechanism. They didn't give him a strategy to be like, okay, so when this happens and when you get down and whatever, because Tony doesn't know. He's not a therapist, he's not a psychologist, he should not be doing this. But at the same time, he put that story in, I think it was even in the trailer, because he comes across as like such a hero for having saved this man. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, like this is, they're targeting that direct by putting that story in your trailer. You're targeting people in that situation. You're saying, buy a ticket to my conference, because
Yeah.
look at this guy, he got cured.
Yeah. Look how low he is. Are you that low? If so, show up, because that's the type of person
Yeah.
I'm after, because those people are at their last maybe decisions. They're like, I don't know what else to do, and they end up at this thing, and he talks about that too, like you said about selling the couch. Like, okay, that's, I think, a level of desperation that's pretty severe. If you're at the point where you are so in a situation where you're selling furniture to go to something because you're that desperate, that's a certain level of like very severe desperation. So it's targeting that person, having them spend all this money, and then there's no follow-up afterwards once you're at and then people go to the conference multiple times too, so it's confusing as well. It's like, okay, it's supposed to change your life in one, why do I have to go to 15 of them to get the same effect? But it never ends. It's like, oh, personal development is always developing, so you end up putting like thousands of dollars into it, and it's just like, I want to know how many people went and didn't succeed afterwards, because out of the 10
I would be
do,
willing to bet it's like 97%. I don't know.
probably MLM stats, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
the thing
And that's
too,
why they're so intertwined with MLMs too, because of that. Because they have this shared goal of ripping off people who are poor and desperate and
yeah, yeah. And one thing I noticed, because I've been watching Tony Robbins' son do stuff, because I'm thinking about doing a video at some point. So I'm trying to like get familiar with his shtick. But I started watching some of Tony's stuff again, and he's got a thing where he'll tell a story. One story he'll tell about how he works with CEOs, how he works with presidents, how he works with the highest level of the world, like the movers and shakers of the world, how he coaches them, whatever. But then the next story, he'll say, I went to a village in Uganda and met with a woman there who was, naked and was taking care of her children and whatever, because he wants to appeal to the literal widest audience possible, where if you're living in a hut in Africa, or if you're Bill Gates, my knowledge of the world can help you in some way. So he's casting his net so wide. It's like ridiculous. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't even, the thing is so wide.
no doubt that Tony has met people who are high up. I am like Tony's target audience is not that.
Yeah.
His
Oh,
target
definitely not.
audience is the people who are desperate, who are sad, who are in poor situations. That's his target audience. The people who are, in high positions and whatever that he might have met, I don't know how he worked with them. I'm sure that one or two or even 10, let's say, he worked with, the vast majority of those people that he quotes, I am willing to bet that he just met them, maybe.
Or he paid them
I'm-
to be there, to speak with him in some
or
way.
even never met them and just says that and people believe him. But he's targeting the people who don't have money. He's not
Yeah.
targeting the people who have money. If he was to target people who have money, we would never see anything of Tony Robbins, because we are not the target audience. We would not even come across, because he would advertise it in a different way. He would
Yeah.
advertise it through like high-end foundations like Anna wanted to build.
Wouldn't be
Or
on
like
my
he would-
YouTube every 5 seconds.
yeah, if he would advertise it through like whatever is like hedge fund meetings or I don't know what the rich people have. Like this is showing me off as like someone who has no idea how the world works, but literally like he would
I agree.
advertise it at parties where those people like go around. Those
Exclusive.
people are not just going to find Tony Robbins on the internet.
No.
You know what I mean?
Do you see the comment? UD on YT says, Oprah Winfrey was obsessed with Tony. She paid to work with him. I have a bone to pick with Oprah. Like, she promoted so many grifters through the years. She had two episodes about The Secret on her show.
And she promoted James Arthur Ray.
On that show, yeah. The guy who basically was the cause of 3 people dying in a sweat lodge retreat.
And there were like something like 20 people with like burns and
Oh, yeah. And someone also
it's like-
unalived themselves at a different event that he was doing. Let's look at James Arthur Ray for a second, since we're on him. He's one of my least favorite motivational speakers ever to walk the earth. And guess what he's doing? He went to prison also. And now he's back at it again, inspiring people with his stupid commentary. Here he is. Wonderful. Yeah, he's got a lot to teach you. He's so full of crap. And like there was something. He has an event coming up or already passed. Let's see. Let's just read. Yeah, okay. They're all through Zoom. Hold on. Let's just take one. The next one is coming. It's today. No, tomorrow. The next event is tomorrow. No one go, please.
Yeah, I
Don't
don't
waste your
think he's got much of an audience anymore, luckily.
You want to? Well, I agree. I saw the documentary, and the people that showed up in person were like out of their mind. So, okay, this is what it says. This is in 18 hours, so exciting. And it's about what we're talking about: wealth and abundance. This is what Anna
Of course.
Delvey wants. Okay, so if she was like, let's pretend that Anna Delvey was to see this and go. would she do anything different in her world? Because I don't think so. I think this type of stuff is where like this magical thinking comes from.
Oh my God, Anna should have used that in her defense and be
I
like,
know.
but like, I'm trying to manifest my FAD.
Yeah. I was taught by a very seasoned professional.
Tony Robbins told me that I need to I need to just do it,
I
and
think
then
there's a
it will
defense.
just happen.
I think there's a defense. I definitely think like someone get arrested and let's test this out because I think we need to take this to court.
Not me, thank you very much.
I'll sacrifice myself. Okay. It says the search for true wealth, connection, and abundance. Abundance. That's a big word that all these places use too. Abundance. That's what Rachel Hollis was saying, and I think Anna Sorokin was searching for abundance. Stops now, right here with you. No matter who you are. Okay, this is very important. Wide net. Remember. No matter who you are, no matter where you live, you have a power operating in and through you that's just waiting to be tapped and unleashed. Have you ever thought about true wealth and fulfillment? I mean, really thought about it. Grabbed hold of it with both hands and rolled it over and over and examined it from every angle? Have you taken it apart and put it back together to see what makes it tick? Once you did that, you'd have a pretty good idea of exactly what wealth is and how to create it, wouldn't you? Well, this is exactly what James Arthur Ray does, or has done, but more on that in a minute. In the meantime, I guarantee there's a metaphysical reason for every physical result. The spiritual drives the physical, not the other way around. Okay, wonderful.
What? Wait, the spiritual drives the physical. Wait, exactly what does that mean?
I don't know. I have no idea. And also, this is a Zoom. Remember, the cheapest is $700, and the most expensive is $8,500. These people are insane.
Because he knows that he's not gonna get a lot of people. So if he gets like a couple,
Jeez.
you know.
This is a guy who went to prison for killing people. This is insanity.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like that person, that guy has all the rights in the world. And I think he deserves the rights because he served his time and he's out. He's a free man. I don't think he should be, unable to whatever. But the fact that he has the audacity to have a website and promote that stuff is shocking to me. And the fact that he thinks that people will buy it is even more shocking to me.
I'm shocked it's legal.
Yeah, you're just promising people that you're going to teach
How are
them
they
how to
not
make money?
looking at this after this is literally what got him in prison? How is the judicial system not like getting this website down? Like they just like release him from prison and they're like, whatever, like nobody ever look at this again. Like what?
He's a free man, I guess. There was something where he was not allowed to do something for a while, but then he petitioned and got it. He got allowed to do it. I forget what it was though. Something where he could. I think it was like traveling internationally or something that he had to ask permission for from his probation.
Okay.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's that.
So we didn't get to talk about anything.
We looked at Rachel.
So Chase is not real, you guys. Apparently, Anna has just started a bid that if you want to find out who Chase, the real Chase is, you need to start your bids for 10K. It starts at 10K. It's in the stories, I think.
Oh, in the stories.
In her stories of today, I think.
Oh yeah. Here's from 23
Want
hours
to know
ago.
who the real Chase is? The media outlet with the highest bid gets the exclusive. Bid starts at 10K. Now, I think this is just insane balls. I love it.
She'll get an offer probably.
I would love to be comfortable. I would love to be like bold enough to just like post on my Instagram stories and be like, my Patreon bids start at 10K. Like I would just, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
mean,
like
supply and demand.
It's yeah.
I guess like if they have, so like for example, like TMZ has sponsors that if they get 1 million hits on an article, maybe they can make 30 grand. It's worth it to invest 10 grand to get something that they think is going to do well, I suppose. So someone's asking, UD asked, what does the story mean? So according to the Netflix, or not, I keep calling it a documentary. You tell them.
So there's a romantic interest in the series. His name is Chase. This is not in the book that Rachel released, and it's not been in any of the previous videos that I've seen or news things that I've seen. But it's in the show. It's probably one of the parts that is like made up, but Anna's trying to make it sound like there was a romantic interest in her life. Now she could totally be making this up, like, but then she's made up so many things. Like I wouldn't even.
Wasn't he the one that went on the yacht with her? That was Chase, right? Or no?
In the show.
Yeah. The one
Yeah.
that she stayed on the yacht. Okay, so I went through her story, or not her stories. I went through her Instagram earlier, all the way to the bottom, and there's a guy tagged in the post about the yacht. So isn't that him? I'll show you.
Who? Oh my god! We're just like outing Chase.
Yeah, he's I think he's Korean or Chinese. I'm not sure. I think he's, because they said he was from the Middle East, but I think he's from Asia, but I don't think he's from the Middle East. But that would kind of make sense that they would cast him the way they did. Okay, hold on. Okay, this is the beginning. So this is her first post from 2013. So we're all the way at the bottom. Okay, this is when she was in Europe working at Paper Magazine in France. And then she started the scam, I believe, in 2017 was when she really began to rip people off. Well, not allegedly, she was convicted of it, so she did it. Okay. It's around here, I believe. Okay, here. Ibiza, right? They went to Ibiza. Ibiza to Formentera.
Oh, yeah, that's in the show.
Okay, right? And then there's a person, and there's two people. Hunter Lee Sowick. This is the guy, I think.
Oh.
Because he had the app, right?
Anna, sorry, we found out for free from your Instagram. You should take this post down if you want to sell it.
I know. Someone send me $10,000. If you want, super chat me $10,000.
Guys, if you want to find out who my sister is, $10,000 right now, PayPal, and
Yeah, exactly.
she's
We'll
in
let
all
you know.
she's in all my photos on Instagram.
I know. Just sell all of our lives. He's got 94 LinkedIn experiences. Oh my God.
What?
Look. Look how much. This is insane. I'm going to search dream app, because that's what he did, right? I can't spell dream. Oh God, I'm never getting a future.
It could be.
Dream.
It could be made up.
Community of dreamers. Dreamed of Shadow. Oh, okay. Ha! Here it goes. Shadow. Shadow is the world's first alarm clock that helps people remember and record their dreams.
I can't. This is hilarious.
There you go.
Should we message Anna on Instagram and be like, we found out?
We
from
can't
your
be the
story-
only
from
ones
your-
that have Googled this, like, within 1 second, you know. That didn't take very long.
So you think this is a joke?
Probably. She's probably relying on people just not
You
checking.
followed him. Oh my god.
We'll see if it's
I need
and
to
he's
do
private. Why would he be private with 54,000 followers? He
I'm
probably
gonna go try to follow him too.
Yeah. Everyone go follow him. Yeah, this is his IG. I can't see
I
who
can't
he
believe this.
follows.
This is hilarious.
Breaking news.
I really thought she was serious about it though.
She might be.
She might be, yeah. She's
Let's-
probably like still gonna sell it anyway.
Let's search. Yeah, I would sell it. Yeah, here's all my information that it's on my bio. Okay, there's some articles written about it already. Let's see. Okay.
Like, let's find out who Kayla's fiance is. 10 grand to find out who Kayla's fiance is.
Oh boy. Good luck. There's no photos of us anywhere. I'll pay someone.
You probably have a better chance.
Yeah. I don't have a documentary written about me or a Netflix show. I hide myself better. Okay, wait. So this is the guy who was in the movie. Who did they say? This is thetab.com. Okay, here's everything we know. In the show, Anna Delvey has a boyfriend who is known as a rich app developer named Chase Sorokin. If we go by Jessica Pressler's article about Delvey, he is roughly based on someone Anna was seeing at the time. He isn't given a name in the article and is instead referred to as a futurist on the TED Talk circuit who had been profiled in the New Yorker. And if you saw on that LinkedIn, there was a New Yorker post that he linked to it. I just saw that when I was just scrolling real quick. Chase in the show is said to be an Asian man in tech. Okay, checks out so far. Very rich, a wannabe millionaire, and working on his app. And the real life article, the boyfriend of Anna Delvey, is said to have been creating an app too. Quote, for about 2 years, they had been kind of like a team, showing up at places frequented by the internet, I don't know what that word is, wealthy, living out of fancy hotels and hosting steamy dinners where the futurist talked about his app and Delvey spoke of the private club she wanted to open, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's his real name? Oh, yeah, okay, they named him here. However, Chase in the show never does complete the app, and neither did Anna's real-life boyfriend. The app he is creating in the show is called Wake, which doesn't appear to be based on fact. Chase goes to the Emirates in the show before producing anything, which has caused a few people to think they have cracked the identity of Anna Delvey's boyfriend. It's rumored it could have been Hunter Lee Sok. That's who we found. Who too moved to the Emirates and was once profiled in the New Yorker. He has done a TED Talk and tried to launch an app that never actually materialized. Okay, so I figured out the thing that they figured out also.
Yeah.
So she's saying, like, confirm it. She'll pay 10 grand to confirm it.
Yeah. Anna, if you're listening, you should come up with another romantic partner that, you know, has nothing to do with this, and he was the real genius behind the scam, and, you know, sell that story.
Yeah, for real.
Because we got this one for free, so...
Do better. Hunter.
Yeah.
That took like literally what, 45 seconds of like paste, copy and paste? Come on. I know. I keep saying it's a documentary. It's not a documentary. It was a scripted show. I literally have said it's a documentary 15 times today. I apologize.
I want to see if there is a documentary that, but I've not seen it, and I want to see it. It's on Hulu, but I don't think we have access to Hulu here.
In Romania? I saw one on, it was like an ABC, like one of those magazine shows where it was just like a longer piece. It was like a 10-minute piece. And then I saw one, I think it was I believe Whoopi Goldberg narrated it. It was called The Con. And it was like every episode was a different con. And I'm pretty sure Anna Delvey was one of the topics. Let's see. The Con. Whoopi Goldberg. Anna Delvey. Just Anna's fine. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't say Anna Delvey, but that's a good show nonetheless. The Con. I think that was on Hulu. I think, or
Cool.
one of them. Okay. Well, we cracked the code. Someone sent us 10,000.
Well, we cracked the codes, so we can probably go to sleep now. Or I can, because it's like what, 3 o'clock where you are?
It's 4:25. I gotta do some editing. Franny Pan says, I'm so surprised to hear your thoughts on this topic. I've been listening and trying to understand where you're coming from, but it's difficult for me. In my opinion, Anna is extremely shallow and self-centered. I mean, I don't disagree that she's those things, but
Yeah.
I also
She's
don't
for
think,
sure shallow and self-centered, yeah.
yeah, that I
Agreed.
think is obvious, definitely, for sure. But I have more of an issue with people who target vulnerable people. That's kind of my stance on things, and I don't think
Yeah,
she targeted
same.
vulnerable people necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I'm not feeling really sorry for all those rich people that just got a little bit tricked.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think that's what it is for me. Like, I feel like those people who got tricked were just as shallow, if not more shallow, than Anna.
By believing it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. They wanted to believe it.
Yeah, because that person was giving them the time of day. So it's like, oh, okay, this rich heiress wants to be
It
my
made
friend.
them feel important. and it made them feel, like they have exclusive access to something and someone and an idea and early access and whatever. Like they are so shallow, they didn't even look into it, they weren't even interested in the truth and anything.
Yeah. But yeah,
They were
she's
just
definitely
taking
shallow
her
and
to,
self-centered as well.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Rachel
exactly.
too. I guess I also don't have a ton of sympathy for Rachel. I think things worked out just well enough for her. I think she got a good
Yeah.
scenario to come out of it, and she was made whole. Apparently, I mean, allegedly. I didn't see that information, but people were saying that they had heard that. So, if that's truly the case, then like, there's nothing literally I feel bad for her, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel bad that she had that initial stress, but it seems that she was in such a privileged position in anyway that they scrapped the debt. She got a book deal, and then she got like in the show, they said it's something like 600, more than $600,000 that she was making. So if
It's pretty
that's
good.
true, I like, but again, this part could, I don't know how true it is because it's not the documentary, but if that's true, she made like more than $600,000. What a good trauma to have. Like, I'm sorry.
On the
I
spectrum
want
of
a trauma like that.
yeah, on the spectrum of possible ones, yeah, that's probably a better one to get. And I don't know,
My
yeah,
trauma is just end up spending me a lot of money rather than making.
yeah. I think when it comes to things like that, it's like percentage. Like, what percentage did you lose? What percentage of your life and your comfortability did you lose? It's like, I lost 1%. It's like, okay, well, I don't really care that much. As if someone lost, like, a poorer person lost 100% of their, money. I would be like, okay, well, that's horrible, and that does affect people. But when you're just like slightly inconvenienced, it's like, okay, well, I don't really care. There's bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
And she served her time. She went to prison. She served her time. She's probably going to get deported. So, I mean, she's doing, like, what else can you do to her?
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, like, I feel like she should be considered clean. And not only that, but now everyone knows. So if people continue to get tricked by her, then at that point it's kind of on them. If you've not seen this story, like, where have you been hiding?
Yeah. Now, we haven't talked about this, and I don't know if we have, like, that much time to really dive into it, but, the Tinder swindler just came out, too. And literally the people who got scammed in that are still paying their bills back, apparently, according to the end of the documentary. Or, yeah, that was a documentary. So I wonder if there's a gender thing here. Like, if you're scammed by a woman, she needs to pay. But if you're scammed by a man, like, too bad.
I've not seen it, so I really don't. I can't tell.
Okay.
I can't have an opinion on it. But that sounds like those people were more vulnerable than the people that Anna scammed.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think also the women that he was with were just normal. One of them was like a fashion person, so she probably had some money, but the other women seemed to just be like normal people that he found on Tinder. It wasn't the same thing where she found these people at swanky restaurants in New York City in the socialite scene. He just picked anybody,
Yeah.
basically, that was willing to believe that he was real. So, I mean, maybe it's gender, maybe it was in Europe more, could be a difference. Because he went to jail, I think he went to jail only. He went to jail for like 5 months and then got out, and now he's back on Tinder again. He basically,
Yeah.
nothing happened to him, essentially.
Oh gosh, misogyny it's just, yeah. Like, if it was Anna in that situation, well, and it was Anna in that situation, she really was there, but she did 4 years.
Yeah, she did years. And someone's, Yudi is asking about he got away with it. So he got away with most of the crimes. He got put in jail for the crimes in Israel, some sort of like check scam or something that happened in Israel allegedly. But the ones where the women were involved, he wasn't charged ever. So that's correct.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right,
Okay,
everybody.
I'm gonna have to go
It's nighttime.
because it's so late for me. It's really late. It's 10:30. Um,
Oh,
but
gosh,
it's been a
yeah.
pleasure. I
Yeah.
love this. I could talk about Anna forever
I know. We should
and
follow up
scams
again.
in general.
I know, same. We should follow up when the documentary comes out, the actual one.
Are they gonna release a second season? I'm wondering.
I doubt it. I don't know.
But
Maybe.
I feel like they left it a little bit up in the air. I'm kind of starting to think that Vivian and that lawyer guy are gonna have an affair or something of the sort.
But it didn't happen in real life, though. That guy really exists.
Well, I think this is as far as real life goes from now on.
Interpretation.
I'm gonna say that the text on in the intro will be this is totally made up in the second season.
Perfect. Okay.
And this is Shonda
Fair.
Rhimes. Like if she can't come up with these stories, then who can? Like
Yeah, they write themselves, essentially.
yeah. But I felt like they left it there. I don't know. Did anyone get that vibe that they were
Open-ended.
kind of flirting a little bit?
Well, the only thing is they'd have to
towards
like
the end?
wait a while for something to happen, I would imagine, because it hasn't unfolded yet. She's still in the United States. She's still with ICE, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, they can probably still continue with some of the true story, but I want to see Vivian and the lawyer guy get together and quit, and divorce their current partners and stuff because they seem toxic.
You're really in the romantic entanglements, not really about the case itself.
I mean, the case is fascinating and stuff, but I want to see some people banging. Okay.
Yeah, more sex. Yeah, there was like no sex in that whole thing, which I guess is good. But yeah, I was
With
surprised.
Chase, there was some with Chase, but
Was
like
there?
we didn't
Okay.
see it.
It was very PG, PG scenes.
Yeah.
All right. See everybody soon. Next Thursday we'll be back, same time.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.